The vibes are immaculate. We welcome you in to a perfect fall afternoon in the sports bar. It is Danger and Battaglia. We are glad you're with us this afternoon on a Victory Monday. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. Checking out the stream on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester, and you can also get us on your smart device when you ask it to play. 95.7 The Fan. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Right off the top, before we get to the Bills and everything else, congratulations to Joey and Monica. Can you imagine getting married this past Saturday with that elite of the elitist weather? My goodness, it was beautiful this past weekend. Congratulations to Joey and Monica, who I believe went to the Bills game. How's that? Get married Saturday night, then you go to the
Bills
game on Sunday.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like to see fall weddings during football season outlawed, banned completely. Just get rid of weddings in the fall, because inevitably it's going to conflict with some kind of football viewing, whether you're in the college game or the pro game. I mean, you're not doing a lot of weddings on a Sunday, but still, you know what? You're traveling a lot of times. You know, let's just ban fall weddings. But Joey and Monica, two of our favorites here, our favorite regulars in the sports bar, pulling it off, tying the knot, and we couldn't be happier for two of our favorite people.
Yeah, that was wonderful, and I'm going to see it. They're coming out to trivia night today. Oops, the camera is...
Yeah, we've got a full show lined up for you here this afternoon in the sports bar as we react to another Bills win, and it's a win that it was kind of a tale of two halves. We'll get into it later on this afternoon. We're joined by Nate Geary. You hear him on the Buffalo Bills radio network, our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo. Nate stops by at 4:25, and as is usually the case, he has thoughts, he has opinions, and he will share them with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win, but is it to championship standards? We're not talking about a championship in mid-October, but I like how, if you were listening to his post-game last night on the way back, and that's always a mixed bag, right? You get some really good callers, you get some callers that are half in the bag. I'm not sure where this guy was, but he called Nate a cynic for pointing out things yesterday that were slow to begin. Yeah, we'll get to all this, but Nate Geary, the cynic, will be joining us in the 4 o'clock hour.
I think that's why we like Nate. Is I feel like we could be a little bit cynical at times as well.
You come to the sports bar for the cynicism, do you not? One of the reasons.
Maybe, yeah. Thad Brown, our buddy from News 8 Sports Director Thad Brown's going to stop by here in about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, so we'll get it. He was out there as well yesterday. Titans, we move on. Seattle, what do we make of the Seahawks as we're diving in here to Week 8 already? Thad Brown coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the start here, a tale of two halves where you had a pretty terrible first half where Josh Allen didn't look like Josh Allen, where you came out after halftime, you made adjustments, you outgained Tennessee 299-72, you outscored them 27-zip. In the final 30 minutes of that game. I don't know if it was a poor game plan to start the game or if it was just amazing adjustments made through the course of the first half and at halftime, but the Titans had zero answer for the Bills on either side of the ball in the second half, and they get the win to move to 5-2 on the season.
Yeah, very tentative coming out of the gate on offense. When you accept the ball, it's like, okay, let's go, and that wasn't the main reason. Sean McDermott said the reason the Bills accepted the kickoff to begin the game was because of the wind. Okay, if you were at the game yesterday, where would you rank that in terms of windy days? Not up there. So I don't know if in the back of his mind he's thinking Tyler Bass, but that was the reason he gave there. So that seemed a little odd. Seemed a little odd that, all right, Amari Cooper dropping a pass there on third down, and then on the next down you have Josh Allen pretend he could. It actually was the same play. Could have run for the first down very easily. It was just a static start. And on the defense, Danger, we've seen this. And, yeah, you can give Bobby Babich and everybody the credit, but what did you think the Titans would do here? Mike Catalana told me this, and I'm like, yep, that's exactly it. It was the Arizona game all over again. We kind of forget that Arizona was actually up 14-0 in that game. We're thinking, oh, my gosh, the Cardinals are rolling here. They're moving the ball. James Conner's running all over the place. And then all of a sudden the Bills decided on defense to get disciplined with their eyes, and it made a big difference. I'm watching Dorian Williams and others just bite on simple fakes yesterday, and it's allowing for first downs. You're converting on 3rd and long. There were a lot of things that went against the Bills, but two halves, as you mentioned yesterday. And the credit the Titans for helping out the Bills, too. That was not smart football to go for it in your own territory, to call that play there. That changed the game right then and there. As soon as Carter comes up with that play to begin the third quarter, the Bills get it back after the Titans turn it over and zones. Did anybody think the Bills were going to lose that game yesterday? No.
Yeah, not after that. And it wasn't all gravy for the Bills. I mean, there are some things certainly that they're going to be working on this week, or you hope to see improve by the next time they get on the field against Seattle on Sunday afternoon. I'm not sure how healthy James Cook is, because he didn't have the kind of efficient game. Yes, he found the end zone, but 12 rushes, 32 yards, averaging under 3 yards a carry, very un-James Cook-like. So that might be something that we see them work on, although you did see a little bit more of Ray Davis, and Ray Davis, when he did get the opportunities, it did well with those opportunities. So I'm not too nervous about the Bills' run game. But I think watching James Cook is worthy of note, just to see, is he being rushed back from that toe injury? Is he rushing himself back from that toe injury? Is he the same player? Because Davis, with just 5 carries, averaged 8.2 yards per carry, and he also found pay dirt as well. So.
Yeah, I think part of that, too, is when you're, the defense a little gas in the fourth quarter, that Davis was getting some yards. That was the most yardage Josh Allen ever put up in the second half through the air. 100th game in the NFL, as you probably know, yesterday, 268 yards through the air in the second half alone, most ever in the second half. And it's the Amari Cooper effect. Cooper doing his stuff, but has Keon Coleman looked that good? The answer is no.
I mean, I think that was the thing last week, right? I mean, when we found out that the Bills were trading for Amari Cooper, where everybody, I think there wasn't a single person, nobody in this room, that hated that move, that thought, that's not a good move for the Buffalo Bills. I think everybody views it as a low-risk, high-reward move. And my thing was always, at minimum, it's going to make every wide receiver a little bit better, a little bit more productive. And, when Cooper had that first drop, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, well, he does lead the league in drops coming into Buffalo. And, some of these analytics don't really paint a flattering picture of what the Bills are getting in Amari Cooper. But it turns out through the course of the afternoon, he did exactly what we thought he would do. He didn't have eye-popping stats, but he did have separation. He did find the end zone. And he made Keon Coleman look better. And Khalil Shakir was typical Khalil Shakir. If it's going towards him, he's catching it. He's got separation. At minimum, it's going to create – it's another body that defenses have to key on that get everybody else a little bit more open. I'm sorry.
You didn't mean to do that.
That was an unintentional pun by me there. Sorry about that. Josh Allen on Amari Cooper after yesterday's game.
It's a huge shout out to him for putting in the extra hours of getting ready for this game. It's not easy being traded in the week and playing a game and playing real live reps where he played quite a bit. Shout out to him. DJ Mangus, wide receiver assistant coach, putting in a lot of work with him, Coach Henry. Guys in the building that put a lot of effort into getting him ready to go. It's huge to have him out there.
They used him as much as we thought. I like how when we talked to Andy Behrens on Friday, he was the one who pointed out, hey, he's done this before when he was traded from the Raiders to the Cowboys. Not only did he play that week, he went for 66 yards and a touchdown that day for the Cowboys, and it's almost the same production that you got out of Amari Cooper. So I'm kind of encouraged by what I saw, the drop notwithstanding. Our phone number, 585-866-4326. Starting us off, Tim in San Diego. Hey, Tim, welcome to the Sports Bar.
Hey, well, thank you as always. Well, like you said in the onset, it was a tale of two halves, and I just don't get the slow starts with Buffalo. They got to come out firing. It's just it seems like they're very reserved in their first quarter, second quarter, and then all of a sudden they turn it on, and the second half, and we obviously saw what happened yesterday. But if you look at the season so far, all 5 of the wins, coming against teams that have a horrible record now. I mean, obviously at the onset, all the prognosticators thought at the beginning of the season, well, Jacksonville might be a contender, Miami, the Jets. and so on. That obviously hasn't happened. I mean, the Jets are a complete dumpster fire after seeing what you saw last night. But overall, it's just it seems like on social media there's this growing contingent of getting some for a 5-2 team that McDermott's feeling some kind of heat, and he obviously I don't think he is, but I think the fans are just getting a little bit restless and tired of this same old stuff every year with him. Obviously the clock management, another Hail Mary that's been successful, and just other coaching just goofs that have happened. And I just think I don't know. I'd like to hear your opinion on this, obviously, but it just seems that that contingent's starting to grow more and more. Even though yes, the Bills are 5-2, they're a 3-game lead in the AFC East, but there's still some dissatisfaction with McDermott and also Babbage and Joe Brady to this point.
Tim, these are first world
We've
problems.
run out of problems.
Yeah,
we have run out of problems.
All right, to the social media part. If you are on X in real time, Brady, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, Josh, what? Nate, you're not tweeting about, hey, that's a good play. That's just the human nature of social media. So if you're on it, the timeline when you're starting off slow in the first half, that was not a good timeline for anybody. And does that mean that McDermott is in trouble? No, nothing changes as far as they won by 24 points.
And we're complaining about the coach.
They won by 24 points, Tim.
And we're complaining about the coach. I mean, we've been critical. It's our job, right? We're gonna watch the game like you do, and we're gonna find things to kind of pick apart and be like, okay, that could be better. Yeah, that wasn't ideal. And we all have memories of really, really bad losses as recently as this year. So, of course, there are reasons to be critical of the coaching staff. There are reasons to be critical of the players. Josh Allen wasn't good in the first half. Statistically, this was another bad first half. I know a lot of people want to put Josh Allen in the MVP conversation, and my thing is, well, maybe through the first 3 weeks you could have that conversation. I need to see a little bit more moving forward. But to spend time on a day where they just throttled an opponent at home, where they held them scoreless in the entirety of the second half, and to talk about whether or not the coach is in any sort of trouble, McDermott's fine. What are we tired of? We're sick of what? Winning? Having winning seasons? Winning the division?
Tim is not alone in this. It's honestly, it is something that Bills fans are looking at this and they're projecting. They're projecting.
Hey, that's fine.
If you play this way and you actually are facing an opponent who, I don't know, has a good quarterback and is going to score points. Mason Rudolph is a backup for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness, Mason Rudolph's going to start. Woo! Yeah, no, he wasn't good. He can't throw the ball downfield. That didn't work. We project. We think, hey, you're not going to be Mahomes playing this way. You're not going to fill in the quarterback. Or on defense, say, for example, man, this is what we saw against the Ravens, and it was against the opponent there. I will listen to that you've got to be better against quality competition. Now, what are the Seahawks? They're a first-place team, and we're going to explore this all week. They're a mystery to me, Danger. Honestly, I don't know if they're good or not.
I don't love the spot for Buffalo. I don't love the spot that they're going into. I don't love that Seattle just went into Atlanta and did what they did. I don't love the idea that Seattle, I mean, if there's I guess a benefit here is that Seattle is pass heavy as they are the league's top passing team, that maybe that plays into the Bills' defensive strengths a little bit. But Geno Smith has been playing good ball. Seattle very quietly plays pretty good ball. They've had some stinkers this year too.
Do they play good ball though? I mean, let me go over the resume here, okay? They beat Bo Nix in his first start by 6 points at home. They needed overtime to beat the Patriots. Tua is hurt. First game for the Dolphins. They beat the Dolphins by 3 touchdowns. They lose to the Lions by 13. They lose to the Giants by 9. They get throttled by San Francisco on Thursday Night Football. But then with the extra time, they throttle Atlanta. This is a weird team, Danger.
Yeah. Yeah, that Giant loss is a weird one. I'm not going to fault them for losing to the Lions, losing to the Niners. That's a divisional game. They beat up on bad teams to get to 3-0 to start the season, kind of like the Bills. Oh, my God, are we playing the Bills of the Pacific Northwest? Is Seattle the Bills of the Pacific Northwest? I don't know, but I'm a little I'm excited and intrigued and curious about who we talked to this week and what we learned this week about the Bills' opponent, because I don't see it as simply as the Bills are just going to beat up on Seattle because they're a better team. They have a better record, they have a better quarterback. All of that can be true, and the Bills can still go to the Pacific Northwest on Sunday and put up a stinker.
You can write to us on X, our handle, TheFanRochester. This is actually a DM I got from one of our favorites, Chris in South Central Kentucky, who is actually closing on a house today.
Oh.
So, if you're closing on a house, you are allowed to, not listen in real time. You can listen back here.
But Chris is a psycho.
Yeah,
I mean, Chris,
he's apologizing for not listening today.
He's a psycho when it comes to listening to the sports bar.
So he wanted to get his take here, and the key takeaway from his take, the Titans are kind of like the bizarro version of the Bills. He's talking about the PSLs here. The Titans have sold their fans on being a bit down this year, but still being competitive. At 1-5, that's not the case.
Well, they don't have their quarterback. That's the biggest thing that they're missing.
They thought they had a better quarterback in Will Levis. And maybe that's kind of the takeaway, because last year, Will Levis, look at him making plays. And, hey, they won a game because of Will Levis. And, sometimes the rookie quarterback, and then year two, when you get a little bit of tape, I don't think that's going to be the case with Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, but who knows? Maybe Bo Nix or one of these quarterbacks will regress next year. I can guarantee you that. And if you're the Titans, you're better off just tanking this season, honestly. There's nothing there. I went into the Titans locker room yesterday, and it was just a morgue. And like DeAndre Hopkins, I'm wondering if they're going to ship him out.
That dude wants out.
Yeah.
That guy wasn't involved at all. You could kind of see him pouting a little bit on the sideline towards the end of the game. That guy looks like he's ready to be gone.
Yeah. And then for Tyler Boyd, he's not questioning the decision to go for it on fourth down. He stopped short of it, but still, come on.
Yeah, I think here it is. Tyler Boyd after the game.
Yeah, it hurt. At the end of the day, it hurt because we put them in field position. We gave up 3 points without their offense getting on the field, and that was on us, but everybody believed in the call.
First series of the third quarter. Game is very much in hand. The 3rd and 1 turned into a 4th and 2. They go for it, and then, Carter blows it up. Rapp blows it up.
Can we talk about Carr?
Yeah.
Have the Bills found something? Do you give him more of a taste? Give him more reps. But is that at the expense of the guy you're paying here in Ed Oliver?
Yeah. Yes, you do. In fact, I like what I've seen out of Carter in his rookie season more than what we remember seeing out of Ed Oliver in his rookie season. And Ed Oliver might be a better athlete, but Dwayne Carter might just play the position a little bit better or maybe more consistently. Because there are days where it feels like Oliver can be a disruptor, and then there are times where he's just invisible. We've seen it. But Carter, it feels like when we're seeing him out there, when he's on the field, he is making an impact. And that is a find. It's an absolute find. It wasn't something you had to invest a first-round pick in like you did with Oliver. And I think if it continues, Carter's going to be the guy that you put in there when you need a play. And that was a big play. That changed the course of the game. It changed they completely deflated any hope that Tennessee had of competing in that game.
Yeah, it's 10-7 at that point, and okay, I'm thinking you're in your own territory, punt it away. Outside of the one drive, what did the Bills do? And granted, that one drive was like, okay, Tennessee scored a touchdown. Like, okay, they're throwing it. Wow, what a novel concept here. We can move it through the air. Yeah. That was some inexperienced coaching, I thought, on Brian Callahan of the Titans. I'm supposed he'll learn there, but Yeah, Carter, I think, is a nice find for
Feels
Buffalo.
like the real deal.
Yeah.
Thad Brown, News 8 sports director, is going to stop by the sports bar next. We'll continue to recap yesterday's win in Orchard Park and start to look ahead to Sunday's matchup against Seattle and the Seahawks. Thad Brown talks more Bills with us here in the sports bar. We went through the entire segment
All
without.
right. Yeah.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
I figured you would be.
I'm fine.
I knew you would be. The regulars are nervous about you.
No. We're all good. We are all good.
But before we go to break, just quickly, on X, at the Fan Rochester, this is one of our regulars, Pete, who says, I owe Gene Battaglia and the Mets an apology. Rather than playing the Mets theme song as the song of dysfunction, just play the JETS Jets cheer. Damian Woody said, we have a roster, not a team. We're not going to the playoffs. That's Pete, the down-and-out disgruntled Jets fan. Apologizing to you, the Mets fan.
Yeah. 10 seconds on the Mets and Dodgers. It was a bad series. This was not something where you're at the edge of your seat. These games were blowouts, every one of them. Last night was the first lead change, and you know what? I'm not ready to give my World Series prediction, but every Yankee fan has to recognize, that lineup for LA, they're good too.
It's pretty good. I have a Shohei take that I want to share here coming up later on as well, because I don't want to dismiss what we've seen of him, not just throughout the course of this season, but this postseason as well. It's good to have your best player in the league being showcased the way he is, and I'm kind of excited for this World Series. I don't know that the Dodgers are going to win it, but I know that when you've got the kind of star power that we have on both of these sides, we're in for a treat.
Would you agree with this? And I'm trying to separate myself from the storyline, and I think most people in our area would say, "Oh yeah, Subway Series, absolutely." It's better for the sport.
This
that
was
we
always
have,
better.
The two coasts, the two biggest markets, the two biggest stars.
Yeah, this was always the best case scenario for Major League Baseball. I'm excited for it. We'll get Thad Brown in here next, and we'll continue to talk Bills next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. update.
Feeling good in Western New York. The Bills at 5-2, a slow start yesterday in the 24-point win over the Titans. Sean McDermott on that second half success.
In the second half, we turned on the complementary football, led by the fourth down stop by the defense. The offense was able to get into a rhythm in the second half, to me, primarily by winning the line of scrimmage, and that sets up everything else. And really, I thought the second half we did a better job on both sides of the ball up front, winning the line of scrimmage, and again, that sets up everything we're trying to do.
We will talk some Bills football coming up next. Thad Brown from News 8 to join us here. Bills and Seahawks coming up in Week 8. Week 7 concludes tonight with a pair of games. It's the Buccaneers and Ravens on ABC and ESPN. Cardinals and Chargers, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Garrett Cole to start Game 1 of the World Series against the Dodgers. That's coming up on Friday. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the sports bar, we welcome in our buddy Thad Brown, News 8 sports director, to talk Bills, recap yesterday's win. I mean, Thad, I think it speaks to where we are as fans and where this team is, where the Bills win by 24 points, and we're still finding little things to be like, all right, what's up with the slow starts? What? Come on, McDermott, what are we doing with these slow starts? You won by 24. Shouldn't we all be just celebrating? Have we completely run out of problems as fans?
No. Look, there's sometimes where early in the season, we've done this with the Bills before, where they beat a team that you think they should win, like they should win the game by 30, and they win by 3, and you point out all the negatives. The thing with this was, we've just seen them lose games doing this. This was Baltimore and Houston 2 and 3 weeks ago. So it's not like, oh, this is just some imaginary potential negative. No, this is an actual problem that has had consequences when they're not playing a team called the Titans. So, it's a thing. And the other part of it, too, is, from my personal point of view, so I go in the locker room afterward, and to me, like everybody else, the second half turnaround was a big part of the story. It was Amari Cooper A, and the fact they dominated the second half B. You tried to talk to different players about the second half, and they talked about it, but there was more than one guy, Rasul Douglas in particular, who, when you ask them how good was the second half, they're like, we can't have the first half be that bad. So these guys are volunteering it themselves, which is why the message coming out of the locker room afterward is, yeah, the slow starts are a problem. It's not something that I'm dreaming up as a member of the media. This is what I'm being told by the guys who actually are 5-2.
So, Thad, I can imagine when you go back in the locker room on Wednesday and we look ahead to Seattle, that's one of the top storylines, right? How do you get off to a better start? Any theories as to why this has been kind of a recurring issue?
This is a theory, like underline it 75 times theory. But the thing I'm thinking of is that we still have young coordinators here. Now Joe Brady's done it a little bit in Carolina and did it last year, but Bobby Babich is brand new. And I think just so far, some of these guys, certainly the Houston and Baltimore coaching staff, Baltimore's, been around the block a million times, and Houston's had a really good start with their coaches. I think that these other coaching staffs are just better at getting a game plan ready to go. Whatever they do during the week right now, Babich and Brady are not winning that, and is it maybe 2 to 3 bad weeks? Is it a trend? Is it because they're young? I don't know. But, it bears out on the film or on the field. I mean, the thing that stuck out to me yesterday, I thought Tennessee's offensive game plan was fantastic for the first quarter and a half. It looked a lot like what Baltimore did. It was moving horizontally, fake it right, throw it left, keep the eyes moving for the Bills linebackers. And then when you get them like looking left or right, wondering what's going on, you punch them straight in the face with a running play, and it worked for a while. And then, once the Bills started scoring touchdown after touchdown, you can't be as patient. You've got Mason Rudolph as your quarterback. There's any number of limitations Tennessee has to adjust. So I think my theory is right now they're just being outcoached when it comes to the Monday through Saturday part of it. Fortunately, the Sunday part of it has been really good. I mean, the Bills defense has allowed 33 total points through 7 games after halftime. But, as we've seen, you can get away with that when you're playing the Jags, the Jets, and the Titans. When they see San Francisco and Kansas City later on in the year, you start slow, you're down 21 points and the game's over.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about their opponent here coming up this weekend in Seattle, but before we get to that, this was Amari Cooper's first game as a Buffalo Bill, Thad, and you mentioned is a big story, obviously, last week and going into Sunday, and my whole thing with this, trade was, at minimum, it's going to make everybody around him look better. It's going to make Keon look better. It's going to get Khalil Shakir, a little less attention being paid to Khalil Shakir, knowing that there's somebody like Cooper on the field. Is that largely what you saw of Cooper's presence, and what kind of a game do you think he had once he got past that initial drop?
Yeah, I think, the drop is kind of the full Amari Cooper experience. Like game one for Bills fans was everything. You get the drop, you get the ridiculous route running. He had a play where he broke a corner's ankles and the Bills didn't even throw him the ball in the first half. You had the contested catch on that little slant in the third quarter, I think it was fourth quarter maybe, and you had the big play with the touchdown, a couple, fades. You got everything of the Amari Cooper experience. Now, he was only on the field for 19 snaps. He didn't play a lot of third downs, so didn't play a lot of money downs, but it did seem like that there was shading of coverage and defenders leaning his way, as teams should when you're looking at the personnel the Bills have. And, I thought, I want to, dive back in the film to see for sure, but live, the Ty Johnson touchdown looked like the linebacker who should be sitting short and over the middle went over to shade Amari Cooper and left it wide open for Johnson to get the walk-in touchdown or the bang-in touchdown. So I think everything that you wanted to get as a Bills fan or a Bills coach out of Amari Cooper, you got game one. Now it's just a matter of continuing to do it.
We're talking to Thad Brown, News 8, Bills winning by 24. Another player that I like every time he's on the field. Your thoughts on Dwayne Carter? Could we see him in a little bit of a more of a rotation with Ed Oliver? Your thoughts on what the Bills have in this third rounder, Thad?
He's been really good at getting off blocks athletically. He doesn't roll through offensive linemen. He's faster, he's smarter, he's quicker. And it's been very effective against the run. And for a team that really had questions about defensive tackle depth, after Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver, there really wasn't much certainty about anything the Bills had. They're getting plays out of this guy. I don't know if there's room to use him more because he really has not been a factor against the pass so far. They're not using him a ton in that area, but he is on the field for passes. He's just not making an impact. So, is that a fact of or a matter of developing it? Maybe this is just what he is. He's a better as a run defender. I don't know. But, in terms of getting more out of him, I'm sure you could use him more on rundowns. He's been really effective there. But right now his impact is just in that part of the game. It's really good. It's been last month now where he is making plays over and over and over. But that might be it, at least for now.
Thad, what about James Cook? I'm wondering if he's 100%. Coming back from that turf toe. He didn't have his most productive game. He did find the end zone, 12 rushes, 32 yards, just under 3 yards per carry. Do you believe he's 100%? Nobody's 100% this time of year, but do you think James Cook is going to be okay here down the stretch with a nagging toe?
I think he is, but I think what we're seeing now these last couple weeks is evidence that this Bills run game is not really about who the running back is. It's about what Joe Brady schemes up. It's about the fact that when you have Josh Allen and now Amari Cooper, teams can't overload the box against you. It's about the fact that when you give this offensive line one-on-one run blocks, they're going to win, more often than not. And I don't, whether it's Ray Davis or James Cook or even Ty Johnson, the Bills can find success on the ground. Now, you want James Cook to be the guy because he has a home run hitting dimension that the other two running backs probably don't have. But, Ray Davis, for his part, is thicker, stronger. You saw it against the Jets. How many runs did Ray Davis have where he'd go 4 yards without contact and then just truck a defensive back and go 5, 6, 7 more? That's not in James Cook's bag. He's tougher than you'd think for a guy his size, for a faster guy, but he doesn't do what Ray Davis does. So I think James Cook will be healthy, whether he was good yesterday or there's another few percentage points of health that he can still gain between now and the end of the season. I don't know, but I just don't know if it really matters much. I think this run game is going to work. And, whichever running back is operating, it will have a little different flavor. But there is success no matter what guy is taking the handoff from Josh Allen.
Thad Brown, News 8, our guest here as we are talking about the Bills. Before we get to the Seattle game, Thad, let me pick a game here in mid-December. The Lions game, mid-December, Lions, Rams. What is the line here for the Buffalo Bills to clinch the division here at this point, right? If everyone is healthy, the big disclaimer, Thad, could they do it by Thanksgiving here, Thad?
Right this now. Here's the thing. I saw a stat that the Jets at 2-5 have a 47% chance to make the playoffs, which sounds ridiculous, especially if anybody's watched them play. And I know Bills fans watched them last week. They are finding ways to lose games at an epic rate. It's actually rather impressive. But the thing is, the Jets' schedule after this is relatively easy, especially if, we think that Tua is not going to be super effective for whatever reason for Miami. They still have to play the Dolphins twice. The Jets do. Both those games are in December. But other than those 2 Dolphins games, their winning teams remaining on the schedule are Houston, Buffalo, and Seattle. And I don't know if people really take Seattle that serious as a 4-3 team. So can the Jets put together a run if they remotely get their act together? I guess. But to your point, when do the Bills clinch it? It's really only about the math at this point, because in my mind, they've probably already clinched it, barring some sort of ridiculous injury situation for Buffalo. We know who the best team in the AFC East is. It's just a matter of whenever the math agrees with us, certainly.
All right, so we were trying to figure out, make heads or tails of what Seattle is, and they're a first-place team. They're kind of like the Bills. They've had some head-scratchers. They had a loss to the Giants that I don't know that anybody that follows the Seahawks can really explain. What are the Seahawks, and what are the Bills getting themselves into? And for some reason, Thad, why do I not feel comfortable about this spot for Buffalo?
Well, first of all, anytime Seattle can walk and chew gum and you go into their building, it's not going to be easy. I mean, that is the only stadium in the league where they give out earplugs to people who visit. This is a legitimate thing, or at least it was last time I was there. So it's not like, it's like Arrowhead or Highmark or whatever. No. This is the unique football setting in the NFL. Secondly, they have a really good group of skill guys. And I mean, not even just the guys at the top. A receiver, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. If he plays, he's an injury question right now. Jackson Smith and Jigba. If Jackson Smith and Jigba is your third guy, you're doing real well. Kenneth Walker is one of the more underrated running backs in the league. Made a heck of a touchdown catch for a guy who came out of Michigan State. Most people didn't believe he'd be much of a factor in the pass game. Well, he has been. Even Zach Charbonnet, their backup running back. They have Noah Fant at tight end. It wasn't long ago Noah Fant was like the next great athletic tight end. So they have people who can move the ball and score points. I mean, they have not their seasons is pretty simple. They hold the team to 20 or less, they win. Team scores more than 20, they lose. So that's the goal for the Bills. You got to put up points against Seattle. The good news is their defense is atrocious, and it's banged up. I don't know if the Bills even see Tariq Woolen, who's one of the top corners in the game. But that is Seattle. You got to score on them. And the thing is, we go back to the slow starts point. If the Bills throw in another clunker of a quarter and a half to open this game, it won't be 10-0. It'll be 24-0. And even if Seattle's defense is bad, that's going to be a tough situation to dig out of in that stadium.
What do you think that was the real reason the Bills accepted? We're so used to teams deferring. Sean McDermott yesterday saying, it had to do with the wind. And we've been in that stadium where it's been much more windy than that there. Was it just McDermott kind of recognizing maybe we need to get points right away to get off to a big start here?
Yeah, I mean, your guess on that one's as good as mine. It was not the McDermott way to not defer. He always wants to have the ability to double dip, as he calls it, to score going into the half and score coming out of the half. And as it turned out, Tennessee had a semi-decent look at doing it themselves that might have changed that game around. So I don't know. We'll see if he continues to go that route. And maybe it was an Amari Cooper thing. They wanted to get him out there. He was out there for the first possession, got the first third down throw of the game. But yeah, it was, outside of what McDermott said about it afterward, which in typical McDermott fashion wasn't super revealing. I really got nothing for you on that one.
What about Tyler Bass? I mean, it's clear that he has secured his job for at least another week. We know how tough last week had to have been with the team signing a kicker to the practice squad. I don't know. I mean, how do we evaluate a kicker in terms of how confident he feels going into any single game, other than the fact that he hit on everything you asked him to do yesterday?
And that's not nothing. I was standing outside the locker room in the morning when Bass came in. The kickers and the long snapper are usually one of the first 5 or 10 guys to get in. They get in early. And, watching Bass walking in and knowing at that time, not knowing how the game was going to go, that this is a guy who is legitimately walking into a stadium where he might lose his job if he has a bad day. And there has to be immense pressure on you when you're in that spot. I mean, we too often think of these guys as just, names on a fantasy football roster, or, someone we're going to throw a beer at, or someone will throw a beer at our TV. I'm not going to throw something at a person, but at our TV over. When, this is a real person with a real job and a career, same as the rest of us. And his career was on the line yesterday. And yeah, he didn't have to make a kick longer than an extra point. They were all, easy, even though the wind was up a little bit. But, if he missed even one of those and the Bills had still won by 21, the Bills are probably finding another kicker right now, or just going to Lucas Havrisik, who they have. So to be able to execute even the easy stuff in that kind of pressure, I think deserves some kudos. And yeah, all he's done is save his job for a week, but he did save his job, and that's at least a step forward.
Yeah, I will give some credit here too, Thad. To hear the fan base kind of, I don't know if it came across on the television or not, but everybody getting behind. I thought, all right, maybe we're all not cynics here. Everybody does want Tyler Bass to kind of figure that out. I thought that was a nice touch by the Bills fans to try to encourage their kicker there when he was coming out for his first kick.
Yeah, I agree. There was some social media talk about it. I think there's a story about how some Phillies shortstop got cheered back in the day, and then that, totally turned the season around. So, Bills fans jumped on it, and give them credit for that. That's that you can't ask for anything more than the fan base. I mean, the team always talks about how they want the fans to contribute, and usually it's ruining the other team's day, but, you can have just as much a positive influence, I think.
Thad, what are you working on this week here that we can get caught up on as we get ready for Seattle on Sunday?
Yeah, check out my column from yesterday at RochesterFirst.com. Talked about, how yesterday, day one with Amari Cooper was just about perfect. Discuss obviously the slow starts and I think the other thing too is, what is the impact of this going forward? Day one is great, but you're going to see changes. Teams are going to adjust. So discuss that quite a bit at RochesterFirst.com.
Seattle, is that the toughest road trip for you in the NFL, Thad?
No, it's my favorite. Seattle is
really
awesome. Yeah. Oh, the building, like I said, the building is so unique and such a fun experience. That would make it a top 5 road trip by itself. But the city's got a great vibe. It's not overly one way or another weather-wise. It's just kind of loose. You got the coastline, but you got a little bit of there's like a Pike's Place market. I mean, it's just like I said, I haven't been in a long, long time, and I'm looking so forward to this trip this weekend.
I'm trying to remember the last time the Bills were in Seattle. It was a primetime game, wasn't it?
That was the Stephen Hauschka game.
That's
right.
Right.
Is that what you call it? That
Yep.
the Hauschka game?
I think the Richard Sherman game might be more likely because there's a penalty late. But either way, yeah, it was that game.
All right, we're going to exercise some demons, Thad. Appreciate you making some time for us, and then have a safe trip out west.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate having me on.
Thad Brown, News 8 Sports Director, stopping by, sharing his thoughts on the Bills and getting us ready for Sunday's matchup in Seattle.
Yeah, this is where you're there once every 8 years, and probably the best game the Bills ever had was Willis McGahee, 4 touchdowns in his you can't say rookie season because he sat out his first year, but the second year, and the Bills falling just short the playoffs that year.
Yeah, again, this week is going to be a fascinating one for me, and I hope we get the chance to learn a little bit more about Seattle. I don't go into this game thinking, well, the Bills are going to just lock in their 3rd straight win in a row because they have a better record than Seattle and they're a better team and a more seasoned team and better quarterback. And I'm like, something about Seattle makes me nervous. And maybe we'll identify what that specific thing is here through the course of the week. But they got to be feeling good right now. 2 wins in a row, a comfortable lead in division after they dispatched the Titans yesterday at Highmark, 34-10.
Yeah, and I'm going to reserve judgment. Like, Seattle's one of those teams because – have they been on in prime time yet? I want to say no. It's one of those teams I know the names. I know they have a new coach. I know it's a very tough place to play, okay? But then I look at the resume and I'm like, there's some marks against this. So, we will be talking. We'll be learning more about the Seahawks this week. But you know what happens sometimes, Danger, when you have kind of the unknown, just everybody forces everybody to kind of dial in. So it's a Bills team that knows they have to get off to the better start. And to Thad's point, too, I was in the locker room yesterday. It wasn't like it was this overly blaring music and everything else. It just felt like, okay, we did what we had to do. Let's move on. Yeah,
and acknowledgement that the first half wasn't great. That's comforting to know that they all recognize and see and realize that everybody saw, hey, you guys weren't good in the first half. That's everybody. It was not a good first half of football for the Bills.
Yeah, and in the other storyline, we could talk about this too, Amari Cooper. But how does Cooper play in that locker room? He talked on Wednesday after listening to him yesterday too, Danger. He is reserved. He does not want to talk. He's just somebody that, okay, I'm just going to go on the field and kind of do my thing, keep my head down, Probably McDermott and the coaching staff loves that sort of
This is
stuff.
Amari Cooper afterwards talking about Bills Mafia.
It's very impressive. I mean, the fans, it has a good feel to the game. Like I said, it just felt different, the fans, for some reason. I kind of got the warning throughout the week that the fans are very passionate. I have been a part of a lot of very passionate fan bases. I played for the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Browns, Alabama. But this one, it seems a little bit more heightened. So I guess that's a good thing.
I saw a quote somewhere from Nick Saban that said, I don't know that I ever had a conversation with Amari Cooper, and he was on my team. Like, he's just a football player. He's just going to come in and play football. He's not really somebody that you need to converse with. He's just going to do his job.
Yeah, and the Bills fan base on the touchdown right off the back. Coop.
Yep.
We haven't had that since Beasley, right? I want to say. Well, because you never did it you couldn't do it with Diggs. You can't really do it with Shakir.
Yeah, it was cool. And again, at minimum, he lightens the load for everybody else. And if he can have some games where he's producing the way he was producing late last season, oh boy, it'll be a special time here this fall.
Well, the idea that was the most yardage by a rookie receiver for the Bills since Watkins too, and granted, a lot of that came on the one, but give him credit for breaking the tackle, and there was no safety. I'm talking about Keon Coleman. Can we reserve judgment on the Worthy Coleman thing? I don't know, for maybe some time here, maybe the end of the season, maybe years on this. Possible?
Sure.
We have to cast judgment on
No,
every play.
no, we can't do that.
Every catch that Worthy made.
There's no fun. We can't do that. We can't do that at all. By the way, if we look around the NFL, we're going to come back here after we take a quick break and share some more as we get ready to be joined by Nate Gary in the 4 o'clock hour. Talk more Bills, Titans, Bills, Seahawks. Just looking around the rest of the NFL, and you don't have to look farther. I mean, I know, Gene, you were watching your Mets last night. Don't worry. I watched the Jets, and I have thoughts on what we saw out of Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh last night.
Yeah. Should we be worried? Tua's actually, he's going to practice now. He could be playing for the Dolphins perhaps in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of a missed opportunity there for Tua with the Guardian cap. He basically came out today and said, yeah, it's a personal choice, and I'm choosing not to wear the Guardian cap. Okay. I'm not going to fault a guy for making a choice that's personal to him.
Well,
but
I think full stop there. Why is that his choice? I'm asking honestly, if you're the team and you've made this investment, I'm sure you can't dictate it, but can't you strongly encourage?
Yeah, I don't know what that player's union contract looks like with the NFL and the NFLPA. I imagine that if they leave it up to the players are going to be out there without the Guardian cap on most of the time. But it's at least refreshing and comforting to know, Gino, and we've done a couple of Section 5 games here in the last couple of weeks where we've seen kids wearing the Guardian caps during high school football games. Like, that's really where it should start, and hopefully if it starts at the young age, it becomes more accepted or at least the technology continues to evolve where we're not having as many issues with head trauma down the road.
Can you come up with some version of the Guardian cap that would print well on TV? Isn't ultimately what this comes down to?
Cool.
Yeah, it needs to look cool.
What can make it look cool? Because, I mean, even the casual fan looks at it and is like, what is that? My daughter's watching the game. What is that? Oh, that's the Guardian cap. Why is he wearing it? Oh, okay, well, he was concussed, and now he's protecting his head. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense, but it doesn't look cool. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look cool. That's the problem. If they can figure that out, we're getting somewhere.
Now we'll be safer.
We'll have Nate Gary on with us in a couple few as well. Stay in the sports bar. Your calls are always welcome. 866-4326, 585-866 for FAN.
WNIBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Bills right now sitting way up on top of the AFC East at 5-2. Miami's at 2-4 in second place. A tale of two halves, featuring the first 100-yard game by Bills wide receiver Keon Coleman, the rookie on his afternoon.
I mean, it means a lot. They can count on us as receivers to, provide that spark. Whether it's the run game not working that day, we need to provide it, or it is, and we just need that big play to happen. I think anybody in our room can make that play happen.
We'll talk some Bills football later this hour. Nate Geary will be joining us in the Sports Bar. Week 7 tonight, concluding with 2 games on a Monday night. We've got the Buccaneers and Ravens at the normal time at 9 p.m. on ESPN+. It's the Chargers and the Cardinals. Jaden Daniels, week to week with a rib injury to Tagovailoa, will practice this week. He could be back at quarterback for Miami this Sunday. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
So the Bills with an impressive come-from-behind victory. They win it 34-10, scoring 34 unanswered points to improve to 5-2 on the season.
I still think they're adjusting to who they are, and I think you can see the growth. But I still think they're nowhere near where they're going to be in a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months even.
Mike Danger.
It's a victory Monday, and I think you did what everybody expected you to do. And good time now in the schedule for the Buffalo Bills to stack some wins and build off of what they did yesterday with the Titans.
Gene Battaglia.
They should win 3 of the next 4. Going to Seattle, all right. The Seahawks haven't been all that. You go back home against the Dolphins. That should be a win as well, which would leave you in Indianapolis. So you're in great shape, and you're still in control of the division.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
You mentioned Keon Coleman in your update, Gino. First 100-yard receiving game of his career, 4 grabs, 125 yards, 31.3 yards per catch. Let's make him our man on a mission. The Fan, Rochester's man on a mission, brought to you by the Open Door Mission. Go to opendoormission.com to see how you can guarantee a win for someone today, as we welcome you back into the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Nate Geary of the Buffalo Bills Radio Network and our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR, stops by the Sports Bar here in about 20 minutes or so.
Known cynic. There's one caller.
Right.
Like, yeah, really? I guess you're coming off a 24-point win. It's okay, I think, for everybody to say, hey, that's a win. Here's how you can kind of prove it. It's all like we're coaches, too. Like, do you think the coaches come back on Monday and be like, okay, you did this, 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 but they're going to point out some things. Like, let's take the linebackers, for example. Like, how about some eye discipline? Maybe that might be just in order. Maybe for your quarterback, too. You could kind of just run a couple yards and slide, and there's the first down rather than throwing incompletion.
Slow starts. That's our complaint today. Slow starts. This team has gotten off to slow starts far too many times this season, yet they sit atop the AFC East 5-2 with a very comfortable lead. Also in the division, 2-5, that's the New York Jets. Everything, and I know you were watching the Mets last night.
Okay, so tell me, because I'm looking at some of these passes on the highlights. I'm like, wow, it's just outstanding from Aaron Rodgers there throwing into triple coverage. Tell me what you saw last night.
Everything that the Jets were last year without Aaron Rodgers is what they are this year with Aaron Rodgers, except they actually started last season 4-3. They were better from a record standpoint last season. The offense is no better with Rodgers. They're no better with Devontae Adams. In fact, in the process of giving in to their immobile 40-year-old GM/quarterback, they've likely stunted the growth of 2 of the league's more exciting playmakers in Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. For any fan who wants to believe that they were always just a quarterback away, you may be right, but it's not Rodgers. It's a bad team. In a year where the Bills carry the second most dead cap and in the league, the Jets are an absolute gift to the AFC East.
I have been watching some of these throws here by Rodgers. Okay, yeah, there's the one interception that goes off of Garrett Wilson's hands, but as Thad Brown pointed out to us last hour, what is it, a 47% chance they still have to make the postseason? That's going to, you know the way this works. It's going to, like, the cycle, and everybody like, you beat the Patriots, and then you somehow beat Houston. We're right back in this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think that that's a team that is unified right now. I think that's a roster. It's not a team.
And you have coaches that are super green. Not talking about the uniforms, too. So you already went to that card of firing the coach. What do you do now? You demoted the offensive coordinator.
The flip side to that matchup last night, and I said it a few weeks ago, the Steelers need to play Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson gives them a better chance to win than Justin Fields. And I know a lot of people like Justin Fields, and I like Justin Fields, but I can also say of Justin Fields, I don't know that Justin Fields is clutch. And when he's out there, the offense doesn't look fluid. It's never looked fluid. It didn't look fluid when he was in Chicago. It didn't have a rhythm. It really was all about him and his ability to improvise or make plays with his legs. And I'm going to do something I rarely don't do. And please don't throw your shoe at your radio or your car or whatever however you're listening. Collinsworth last night was right. Early in the game.
What?
Hear me out. Early in the game, Russell Wilson was ass. He was bad early in the game. And it didn't look like the offense wasn't moving. The natives were getting restless. The Boo Birds were out. And Collinsworth said something that actually came true. He actually did. He said something that Pittsburgh must have heard him or must have realized, oh, yeah, that's what we can be when Russell Wilson when we're letting him play his game. Collinsworth just said, you know what? His best plays happen when you let him just throw a moonball. Just throw it up and let your guys make plays. And the couple of times that they were able to do that, that Pittsburgh was able to do that with George Pickens making some miraculous catches. I know they're not high percentage plays, but they worked. And it worked. And that offense then started to move, and you were able to run the football again efficiently. And you were able to make some big plays in the pass game. And Russell Wilson looked like he was leading, dare I say, a competent offense by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's almost as if Mike Tomlin knows what he's doing, even though a lot of fans would like to say he doesn't. It's still going to be worth monitoring, but they get the win, and it wasn't even really that. I mean, it was close, but, man, it became a laugher at the end of the game. The Jets are the Jets. They are the same Jets that they've always been. In fact, you could make the argument that this year's version with Aaron Rodgers is actually worse than last year's version without them.
I'm trying to find the odds because you can't vote on Kirk Cousins, right, for comeback player of the year. But can we just say, and this is the perception, Russell Wilson actually, when he got benched by Denver last year, it wasn't bad. It was a contract thing. It was a personality thing.
Statistically, he wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad. So, like, could old Russ all of a sudden show up and pop quiz, who's in first place in that division? Right now, it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pending what Baltimore does tonight.
Yeah. I still think that Pittsburgh's schedule it gets challenging here. And I don't know how much of that Russ is going to be able to take on or what they have planned at quarterback. They're going to learn here in the next couple of weeks whether or not Russ is a guy that can lead them to a playoff berth, a winning season. But this was the most telling thing that I heard after the game last night. It wasn't Rodgers talking and blaming the media for their woes. It was a conversation. I can't remember which beat reporter was talking to George Pickens after the game. But he was grilling George Pickens, who went for over 100 yards, had himself a really nice game. I mean, just amazing. The George Pickens that we fell in love with as a rookie out of Georgia showed up last night with Russ Wilson throwing the ball. And he asked him about Justin Fields. And Pickens dropped this. Well, Justin's Justin. Now, if you've heard us in the sports bar in the past say that's a tell. Let's make an analogy here. Let's say you're a parent and you have two kids, and one kid is, successful and They're your dream come true. They have everything that you raise them, you believe the right way, and then you have another kid who's just a complete F up, who maybe has done some time or is struggling with one thing or another. When you're asked about your kids, you're always going to lead with the positive, right?
I would think, though, the analogy I would use is, hey, how's your boss? And you don't want to say anything negative about your boss.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Danger's danger. What can you say?
Right, right.
Like
If anybody ever were to say, danger's danger, I hear that as code for danger's an a-hole. And when I heard George Pickens say, Justin's Justin, I'm like, ooh, that's not nothing. That's George Pickens basically saying, yeah, Justin's kind of an a-hole. And he might not be the same kind of team guy that Russell Wilson is at this stage of his career. In fact, it's impossible to think that he would be. He hasn't gone through everything that Russell Wilson has gone through. As much as we bag on Russell Wilson for being who he is and corny and everything else, right now he might be the best chance for them to actually make the postseason. I don't hate that move. I didn't hate the move. I think they actually could have, if he was healthy, they could have gone to him sooner than they did this season.
Our phone number, 866-4326, 866-4FAN. Brad in Rochester. What's up, Brad? How are you, bud?
Hey, how you doing? I love that the Jets are just imploding. How many years till they make the playoffs? Is this another 5 or another 7? I'm just wondering, because they're going to get rid of everybody, start again, and Devontae Adams is going to find a new team. Rodgers isn't coming back. Hassan Reddick is going to fly as soon as he can, and Garrett Wilson is probably going to ask for a trade, as well as probably Sauce along the way going, hey, I need to get out of here. This is a train wreck. How long do you think till they make the playoffs?
Can I answer it this way? I think the Patriots make the playoffs before those other two teams. And their Patriots aren't making the playoffs this year. Brad, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it does. It does reek of we're going to tear it down and try to build it back up again. And Rodgers coming back next year, and you got Reddick now. What does it mean? I don't know that it means anything, man. These guys, even if you have the players, you need a culture change. You need a culture change, and it starts at the top with an owner who's actually going to allow his coach to be a coach. And who are you getting in there with Rodgers as your coach? It is with Rodgers as your quarterback.
No,
I was right.
No, you were right.
It was a Freudian slip that was actually right. But next year, if that's the case, if he comes back, good luck. Good luck finding a coach. And maybe it is Ulbrich again next year, because what power does he have?
Last night, Danger, if you're driving back from the Bills game, and I don't know if it was this way, like it's, say, 6 o'clock, by the time I got, like it's beautiful out. Everybody's got to look. It took me forever on the throughway to get back last night. And, of course, got the 8:08 first pitch. I need to get back. Mets Odyssey Radio to the rescue. It's no longer 880 CBS down in New York. It's just simply Mets Odyssey Radio. All right. And so they're doing their pregame show. They're actually taking calls on the pregame show, Danger. And the caller at 880, identifying as a Mets fan, had this take. He would rather the Mets lose last night than reach the World Series only to lose to the Yankees.
Ugh.
I've seen this before, Danger. I hate this loser mentality, okay? And the host was like, oh, I get it. No, that's not the correct answer. If you want the girl, you ask the girl out. You can't be like, well, she might say no. Okay, then. Just file this takeaway, because I guarantee if the next time the Bills get back to the AFC Championship game, you're going to have somebody say, I'd rather have them lose to Kansas City than to get to the Super Bowl and lose. No, you're wrong on that. This is part of winning a championship. I hate that mentality from a fan.
The language of losers? Well, they did their best. No, the best isn't good enough, is it?
Then why does this always happen to us? We had a guy that worked here, actually. He was like in charge of programming. He was always that way. Always like Eeyore. Oh, this always happens to Buffalo.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I remember something crossed my feed of his, and it was almost like I think he does it on purpose. I think he tries to troll on purpose. I think he wants to be the first person to go contrarian everybody believes that the Bills are going to beat the Titans, and he's the one guy out there going, yeah, well, here we go. Hit the panic button. It's about time. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. Same old Bills.
Same Bills. It's like the character, the Randy Quaid character from Major League 2 in particular.
Yeah.
Like, I hate this team. Yeah, okay. I mean, some people are just happier when they're miserable. I recognize that.
A lot of people, in fact. And the people that are engaged most in social media are those people. The Dodgers, Gino, back in the World Series. Shohei is in the World Series. It's a reminder of how quickly things can change around someone's image, because we almost had a massive gambling scandal that would have made Pete Rose blush, but I'm going to root for Ohtani. The more I've thought about it, I actually believe that it was his interpreter who did everything that he was accused of, that we as mortals love to project what we do in our lives into the everyday lives of the athletes that we idolize. So if Ohtani's interpreter was here, set up Ohtani's accounts and affairs to get him up and running in America, do we really believe that Shohei is actually taking time out of his day to check his bank account? Or is it just easier to believe that the dude is just mashing baseballs and letting his people handle everything else? I've come around on this just because I think too many times we believe that pro athletes are just like us, when the reality is they're aliens too. They're nowhere near like us at all. Their days are completely different. And Ohtani's ignorance on millions of dollars missing from his account and being bet on by his interpreter, I'll actually buy that. I'll buy that. I'll move on with my day, and I'll watch to see what he does next with runners in scoring position, because he's been fantastic. You're not buying what I'm saying?
Come on. Okay. You're Mike Danger, certified financial planner.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Ohtani works here. Okay, if he works here, what does he have to do? Taxes! Like, you have professionals.
He's not doing his own taxes.
No, but the people that are doing the taxes and his certified financial planner, they would have said, hey, what is all this money moving around? And furthermore,
with the interpreter, not with Ohtani.
It's coming out of Ohtani's bank account.
But it's not Ohtani.
And it was out of Ohtani's bank account, and he would have been saying, hey, what is this? If you are the CFP, if you're his attorney, finally, when they were overseas to open the season in Korea, this is when the interpreter said something that basically implicated Ohtani, and that's when the whole thing, like, whoa, finally somebody was paying attention on that. So I feel like it's one of those 30 for 30s that maybe we will hear from maybe 30, 40 years from now, we'll hear from the interpreter as he's released from jail what really happened. Or maybe it's just a code of honor thing.
I don't know, man. I almost feel like Ohtani actually was a victim in this, that Ohtani didn't know what was going on, because Ohtani is, to be as good as he is at baseball, does he take his eye off of anything but baseball ever? Because it feels to me like if you're going to be as good as he is, the only thing you're thinking about ever is baseball.
Well, I'll say this about Ohtani. I was feeling pretty good about the Mets' chances last night because they were putting out Sean Manaea. One of the reasons the Mets won Game 2 is because Manaea was great, and he was great against Ohtani. He made Ohtani look silly. What did Ohtani do? He made adjustments. He wasn't swinging for the fences.
Right.
And he set the tone last night. I'm like, son of a gun.
Some of these elite athletes, they know, like, for them to be the best, they're not closers, they're cleaners. They're like there with the cleaning crew. They're there doing the extra work that nobody else is doing. They're obsessed. They can't think about anything but winning, about being the best that they can be.
Oh, wait. Are you describing Shohei or Pete Rose? Because Pete Rose was that same sort of player, and he was the hit king and everything else.
I'm thinking of Shohei. I'm thinking of guys like Kobe. I'm thinking of guys like Jordan and LeBron, guys that have been the best at what they do because they are that way. LeBron, I think, maybe deviates from time to time, but there's certainly moments of his career where they're obsessed.
Here's my take on Shohei. I mean, it doesn't have much to do with betting, right? If I'm the Dodgers, I don't let him pitch anymore. I want him in the lineup every day. He is. Somebody wants to debate this with me? Fine, go ahead. He's the best hitter in the game. You put him at the top of that lineup with that speed, it's unmatchable. you're going to put him on the mound every 5 days. Or is he going to replicate those numbers next year? I mean, I'd love to see him try it, and I know he'll sell more tickets and everything else, and it feeds the narrative, like how great a player he is. And I felt like maybe we didn't see enough of that because he was playing for the crummy Angels, and now you will get Shohei on the mound. But if I'm the Dodgers, I'm like, you know what? You're retired as a pitcher. We can't have you blowing out your elbow or doing anything like that. Stay at the plate every game.
Interesting. Can't wait. It's going to be a great series, and no shortage of star power, both teams, as that gets underway tomorrow night. Nate Geary, the Buffalo Bills Radio Network, and our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR, stops by the sports bar next.
Wait a second. We forgot something today. You're looking at me. I'll give you a hint. It's become the new tradition here in the sports bar. Is it because the first half you weren't enjoying this? Like, I really want the music here, Mike Danger. It's a Victory Monday. How can we forget?
Let me ask you a question, pal. Did you follow through?
No, I didn't.
You didn't call the carousel?
I got chicken.
You didn't call the carousel on Sunday morning and request a little Bruno Martino for the good vibes? I'm happy to celebrate a Victory Monday in the sports bar with a little Bruno Martino.
Non sei mai stata così bella, adorabile, così.
Yeah.
I don't know why this hits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you light up a Victory cigar right about now, maybe pour yourself a nice glass of brown liquid, class it up a little bit. This is what Victory sounds like. This is what a win sounds like. This isn't our normal Bruno Martino either. This is Non se mai stata così bella.
Somebody want to translate there. All right, more Bruno Martino throughout the show here.
Of course,
today.
more Bruno Martino throughout the show, because he's Italian. Nate Geary next on The Fan.
AM 950 The Fan, Rochester. Why hit the snooze button when you can hit the sports jackpot? Catch Maggie and Perloff on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester when you wake up through the Odyssey app and make your mornings as thrilling as a game-winning touchdown. The Fan, Rochester Sports Update.
Bills looking good. First place, 5-2. Miami's in second at 2-4. This after Buffalo's win over Tennessee, 34-10. Final. Head coach Sean McDermott on the second half success.
In the second half, we turned on the complementary football, led by the fourth down stop by the defense. The offense was able to get into a rhythm in the second half, to me, primarily by winning the line of scrimmage, and that sets up everything else. And really, I thought the second half we did a better job on both sides of the ball up front, winning the line of scrimmage, and again, that sets up everything we're trying to do.
Now it's on to Seattle. We'll get the thoughts of Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network. Nate joins us next year in the Sports Bar. Week 7 concludes tonight with 2 games, Buccaneers and Ravens, Cardinals and Chargers. Jaden Daniels of Washington. He's week to week with a rib injury. Tua Tagovailoa returning to practice. He could be playing for Miami this Sunday. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Was that wrong?
Yeah, it hurt. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it hurt because we put them in field position. We gave up 3 points without their defense. I mean, offense getting on the field. You know, and that was on us. But everybody believed in the call.
It was an accident. Yeah, it was an accident, but
it was
really,
it fits though.
It kind of works. Yeah. That's Tyler Boyd, Titans wide receiver, on the turnover on downs that seemed to shift the game as we welcome in Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, WGR Odyssey Sports sister station. Nate, I want to say that the slow starts by the Buffalo Bills this season isn't a nothing, but we're talking about it on a day after the Bills beat their opponent by 24 points. What's your take on the slow starts that we've seen in a handful of games this season?
It's like one of those things maybe you throw in the back pocket to monitor. Is it something that we should, really harp on from this game? Maybe not, but I think in large, the Bills played a really strong game, especially in the second half. But I mentioned this in my postgame. It felt like today we got the full Bills experience. We got to see the floor, which was both offensively and defensively, by the way. We got to see the floor, right? We got to see them not really be able to get off the field on third down, which is an issue for this defense, not just against, the best quarterbacks and the best offenses, but they struggled to get off the field on third down. And part of that is on first and second down, they were not nearly productive enough. And they were in the Titans in the first half, especially over the first 3 series or so, just found themselves in a lot of third and manageable situations. Once they sort of got the run game under control, it really made Tennessee much easier to defend. And then, on the other side on offense, right, going 3 and out on their first 3 drives, 4 of their first 5 drives. That's a concern to me because against a very good team, against a team like the Ravens, for instance, which we saw, right, the Bills decided to receive the kick. They go 3 and out, and on the first play, the Ravens basically, obviously everyone remembers that 85-yard touchdown, whatever it was. Like, you can't do that against good teams. So I think what it showed me is that this is a team that's capable in any game, looking like the team they did in the second half, but they also could look like the team that we saw in the first half. And I think we've seen that over the course of full games this year. And in order for them in January to not, I feel like a lot in January, the Bills, this is not new, I guess, which is why there's, I think, a little bit more concern or cause for concern for me, because this is what happens in January. We'll see them play a game like the New England Patriots, perfect game, right? We'll see them play, 59 and 47 seconds of elite level football, and in 13 seconds, so it just, to me, is how can you have the self-awareness that at any moment you could play like that floor? And what can you do to raise that floor week in and week out? And I think the move for Amari Cooper raised the floor for this Bills offense when he's fully integrated. But as a team, how do you avoid what we saw in the first half? I would say probably the first 25 minutes of the game yesterday. And then how do you avoid what we saw, I don't know, for a large part, maybe 45 minutes of the game in Baltimore and another 40 minutes in Houston, right? I mean, those are good teams that the Bills played poorly. And you're not going to win games like you did yesterday. If we got to play the Tennessee Titans every week, maybe it'd be a different story, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the baseline here is that we all can kind of recognize Tennessee wasn't a good team, and if you play a better team, maybe the game would have gone differently. But Nate, I want to look at the positive. You brought up Cooper, and Cooper coming in, making an impact right away. And just to kind of give everybody your resume, you played quarterback at the D3 level, so you know what you're talking about here. Cooper going in, what does that do for the other receivers, the rest of this offense? Could we see the Bills really just kind of making the 11 personnel here, just the one tight end, one running back, three receivers, really more of their base offense, would you say?
Well, what I would tell you is it now gives them the flexibility to change based on the team they're playing that week. I think it makes them harder to defend from, hey, like, we're going to play the Ravens, right? Well, you might now want to see more 11 personnel, because now you think you have one guy that can beat man coverage, and maybe that forces the Ravens out of man coverage. What it also does is in that game against the Ravens, right, what do? They just basically said, we're not going to give you the middle of the field, beat us to the perimeter. The Bills didn't have an answer for that. So if they can now beat the Ravens on the perimeter, it now opens up the run game in the middle of the field. It now opens up maybe more of an effective game plan to get Khalil Shakir in the middle of the field and create mismatches now with Khalil Shakir, who was probably drawing, everyone's number one corner going into this week. And now every week that the Bills walk into a matchup, the number one corner is going to be matched up Amari Cooper. What does that do now for Khalil Shakir? Well, we saw what it did in the second half, especially on that scoring drive where he gets 4 catches, two straight little screen passes that he was able to get off. Well, what does it do for, and I know I had a couple people that were like, well, Nate, Amari Cooper wasn't on the field for any of those plays that Keon Coleman. I said, but that's not the point of how that opens up other people. What it does is it starts to force defenses to have to defend horizontally and vertically, right? And now it opens up things for everybody else. Dalton Kincaid, I don't think it's a surprise. He had his best game as well, too, because the middle of the field is open more. Early in that game, you could tell the Titans were defending the middle of the field. They were saying, we don't think you guys could beat us man-to-man. We don't think you could beat us with your wide receivers. So we're going to take away Dalton Kincaid. We're going to take away the shotgun pin and pull game. And the Bills were lost for 3 drives. And then they figured it out, right? So I think for me, it just opens up a lot of diversity in their offense from a week-to-week perspective, and they can sort of mold their game plan and personnel groupings based on the teams they're playing each week, and I think it'll allow them to dictate terms a little bit better.
I think we're pretty much locked in on Josh Allen in the statistic that he hasn't thrown an interception yet this year, and that opens up the conversation of, well, is Josh Allen in the MVP conversation? And through 3 weeks this season, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely, he's playing at that level. We've seen, some less than ideal games. The Houston game comes to mind as a game where, that wasn't a good Josh Allen game statistically, and of course, it didn't get the outcome. Where are you at with that argument that Josh Allen should be in the MVP conversation?
I think he's leading it. Listen, I think this with Josh, I think one of the most frustrating parts about the conversation around Josh, not just from the media, but from other fan bases, is the constant moving of the goalpost. Well, for the last 3 seasons, what's held him back from being an MVP is that he's turning the ball over. Okay, well, he is now the first quarterback in NFL history to throw 12 touchdown passes without an interception. He's the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to, in his team's first 7 games, have at least 10 touchdowns with no interceptions. Okay, well, now he's doing something which is dramatically shifted from what he had previously done, just like the conversation around accuracy, just like the conversation around being too reliant on running the football. It's all of these narratives, and you'll just find a way to move the goalpost. Now, It's, well, Josh couldn't do it alone. They proved that, so that's why they had to go get Amari Cooper, as if wanting to not expect your quarterback to do everything each and every week is some sort of knock against him. When, Patrick Mahomes has had a Hall of Fame tight, maybe the best tight end of all time on his roster since the day he walked into the league. Lamar Jackson has probably one of the easiest situations for any quarterback in the NFL right now, with a running game that complements what they want to do so well. And yet it's, Lamar is more deserving, or somehow, I don't even know how Patrick Mahomes is even in this conversation, but he's there, right? So I think for me, I think the sooner, as a fan, as a commentator, as a local media person that covers his team, you just pull yourself away from what the MVP is. Not the end all be all for Josh Allen. And if Josh Allen never wins an MVP, he'll still be a Hall of Fame quarterback. If Josh Allen never wins a Super Bowl, he'll probably be in a Hall of Fame quarterback. To me, it's far more about, can Josh fix the things that he needs to fix. He does every single year. He adds a new layer, a new dimension to his game every year. This year, it's protecting the football, not making the big mistake. And frankly, guys, he's doing it without running the football, which was another huge knock on Josh Allen. Well, if you take out the running stats, well, okay, we'll take them out now because they have not really made that level of. He should have had 3 passing touchdowns this week and 300 yards, which would have tied him for the most touchdowns in NFL history with Patrick Mahomes through a player's first 100 starts. At this point, he falls one shy. I don't know that that's going to be a knock against him, but I'm sure people will find a way. So, I think for me, I've sort of removed my general care for whether or not Josh Allen's going to win an MVP because, Lamar Jackson's got 2, and he's got just as many Super Bowl titles as Josh Allen. And several fewer wins in the playoffs when it matters the most. So, the conversations are frustrating. So if you pull yourself out of it, you'll probably be more mentally healthy for it.
Wow, just laying it out. Danger, no reaction to that?
No, exactly. That's why I asked the question, because
Yeah.
I knew Nate was going to have that answer.
Outstanding. I love that. Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, our guest here. Nate, on the Bills running game, so James Cook was back. Do you think that toe is going to be something? I mean, it was an okay day if he found the end zone, or does it even not matter that much that the Bills running attack really is a little more plug and play, if you will, with Ray Davis certainly looking good in the second half. You got Ty Johnson contributing. Your thoughts on Cook and the Bills running attack, where it's at right now entering Week 8?
Well, when the offensive line plays like it did in the second half, you could put me back there, and there's a good chance that I'd average 3 or 4 yards a carry. So I maybe don't want to overreact too much to the success that we've seen Ray Davis had versus James Cook over the last couple of weeks, obviously injury last week. But I think for me, the thing that was probably one of the more if not most frustrating part about the game plan and early in that game last week, or yesterday, I should say, is they sort of ran the same play over and over again. It was that little pin and pull out of shotgun with James Cook, and Cook was basically getting contact at or behind the line of scrimmage on every single one of those runs. And it was a lot on first down. There wasn't a lot of variety to it. And I kept saying to myself, I'm like, where's the outside zone? Where's the cutback? Where's anything else? Because they came into this game with a game plan of, here's how we want to beat this Titans defense. The Titans stopped it, and it took the Bills a half to change. And then we finally saw them get under center in the second half, and they had way more success running the football. They're creating a little bit more downhill momentum in the run game, which has been something over the last couple of years. This was a Ken Dorsey issue, is the play action's more effective from under center because the quarterback has to turn his back and show the ball, and it really exaggerates that first read for linebackers. It forces them at times to take that step up before they bail out into coverage. And if you're doing it on a shotgun, you're giving the defense that extra half second to read and react and get themselves back in a position. So if you could pull a linebacker an extra yard by being under center, if you can create a little bit more momentum moving forward from running the ball under center, which we've seen, then the Bills need to go to it, and they need to go to it sooner. So that was my only complaint, is they just kept running the same running play over and over again. And sometimes that works, but if it doesn't work, you can't sort of keep hitting your head against the wall. And listen, I think what yesterday proved to me is this is still a passing football team. You can tell me all you want, how you want to run the football. Running the football has value. And even running the football when it's not effective still has value. But this is not a team that should be anywhere close to 50-50 run pass. And maybe all of that will work its way out by the year's end. And maybe there's always going to be 1 or 2 games a year where you have the Cowboys game, right, where you're going to throw it 10 times because you're just having that much success on the ground. That is an exception, though. That is not the rule. The rule is when you have a quarterback at the level that Josh Allen is, and now I think a really strong complementary group of weapons, should be a pass-first team. And if the second half didn't prove that, I don't know what will.
Nate, I've been so impressed by the play of rookie Dwayne Carter on the defensive line.
No kidding.
And I'm not saying this or bringing this up to put down Ed Oliver, but I mean what I've seen out of Carter this year feels like more than I saw out of Ed Oliver in his rookie year. And you invested a third in this player instead of the first, and the contract that you've invested in Oliver. And I think we've seen Oliver at times kind of, I don't want to say inconsistent, but it feels like he disappears at times. There are games where you want more out of your defensive lineman and you just don't get it. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing and compare the two here, because it feels like that 1-2 punch of Carter and Ed Oliver, and Carter specifically yesterday with that play, breaking up that 4th and 2 and turning the game on that 4th down, that turnover on downs. Man, it feels like they found somebody special here with Carter.
Well, I think I said this during pregame yesterday, and I think it's probably the best way I've been able to describe this. I think Dwayne plays such a complimentary game to Ed Oliver, a very different game than Ed Oliver. And you'll see this from time to time, and especially in the screen game, right? Especially in the counter, and especially in the trap game, is teams will try to trap Ed Oliver because they know how quickly he gets off the ball. It's a huge advantage for him. He's a penetrating 3 technique. He can get upfield in a hurry, but that can also be used against him. And it's often used against him in the screen game, again, in the counters and some of those trap plays. That is not Dwayne Carter's game. Dwayne Carter is more deliberate. He's more physical. He's more bull rush. He's more of a 2-gap player, where I think Ed Oliver's more of a 1-gap player. Again, that penetrating style, rather than I'm going to force you to at least have your center. He's got to contact me before he gets to the next level. He's got to put hands on me. Otherwise, I'm going to eat up two gaps here. And I think that's really the biggest difference. And I think complementary wise, you might start to see more Dwayne Carter on the early downs in those obvious running situations where you want that 2-gap defender and a 3-gap and the 3 technique position, and not a guy that teams can sort of pick on and use the strength of Ed Oliver against him. Whereas you can keep him, and let's be honest too, guys, those running plays, they take a little bit more of a physical toll on a player. So if you have a bigger body, a guy that is a little bit more effort-based, a little bit more physicality-based in Dwayne Carter, you have him out there on 1st or 2nd down, or maybe 1st and then out there on 2nd and 3rd down. I think it puts Ed Oliver into situational football that is more fitting to his skill set, rather than him being the guy that plays more than any defensive lineman, which has basically been the case the last 2 years. Then you don't necessarily have offenses game planning around the strength of one of your best players. Instead, you have to work around the fact that Dwayne Carter has an opposite skill set and can fill the void of some of the weaknesses in Ed Oliver's game. So I think it's gone incredibly well. He's also popped to me, guys. He's been, if not the most impressive rookie, right up there. And obviously Ray Davis has played well. They are getting a ton of contributions from their rookie class. And this is how they will maintain this level of play during Josh Allen's career, when you're paying a quarterback $60 million. By the way, Josh is probably going to get extended this offseason, right? Yeah. And part of that will be to create more cap flexibility, but also he's going to get a pay raise, and he's going to be deserving of that pay raise. And when you have a quarterback making 60, 70, 80, whatever that number ends up being, right? You need to find ways to fill the back end of your roster and the depth players in the roster with really good drafting. And this has been a very strong draft class. And we obviously haven't really seen Cole Bishop to this point yet. So this has been a really strong draft class, and to me, it probably will get stronger.
Nate, last one from me, and we're all going to kind of learn together. I'm having trouble figuring out what Seattle is all about. I mean, a team that had a 3-game losing streak, a terrible loss to the Giants at home nonetheless, but then they thump Atlanta, and they have a bunch of names that we know on offense. One of them, we're going to find out about the status of DK Metcalf. But what's your initial thought here about the Bills going cross-country to face a team that they don't see very often?
Yeah, and it looks like we just got an update on that too. A LCL or MCL sprain. It looks like a grade 1 MCL sprain, which is going to be a week-to-week injury for DK Metcalf. It's very possible. I saw something that if that was the case, he could try to push through it and play as early as this week, but probably an injury that they probably want to sit him down for a little while. Listen, Seattle is an interesting team. I think that under Mike McDonald, they will continue getting better defensively. But right now, there's areas you can expose this defense. I really like Witherspoon. I think he is right up there with one of the most physical, athletic corners in the league, defensive backs. I think he pretty much play every position in that defense. And, they've got Leonard Williams. They've got some nice pieces on that defensive line, but they're young, they're inexperienced, and they're learning a very complex defensive system that I think they'll keep getting better as the year goes on. But I think they're catching him at the right time, because I don't still think that defense is as good as it's going to be by the end of the year, by next year, because Mike McDonald's system is a bit complex, and I think it's a little dumbed down right now. And I think there's an opportunity there for this Bills offense to get after a little bit. But man, I'm going to tell you, this probably is going to be the second best rushing offense they're going to play all season. Kenneth Walker is there a running back playing better than him in the NFL right now? I'm not sure. I mean, he's got the same sort of level of physicality as a Derrick Henry, but he's quicker. He's more athletic, can kind of help you in the pass game. And then Zach Charbonnet comes in, and he's also physical and is a great pass catcher. And they're going to throw the football a bunch. And the Bills are equipped better than just about anybody in the NFL to defend the pass, and especially the explosive pass game, which they really rely heavily on, especially if DK Metcalf's in the lineup. But all in all, I mean, even if DK's out, you still got Tyler Lockett, you still got Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's a potent offense that's got weapons all over the place, and a quarterback in Geno Smith, who is sort of going back to the player we saw 2 years ago. He's averaging almost 300 yards a game. He's accurate, and yeah, I mean, they've lost to the Giants, but they've also had some impressive wins as well. So it's going to be a tough matchup. There's no doubt about it, and especially on the road in one of the toughest places in the NFL to play. It'll be a great matchup for this Bills team, and hope they can come on the other side.
Nate, quickly, just because you brought it up, I am concerned about the run defense of the Buffalo Bills. We saw them get gashed in the first half with Pollard. We saw what Derrick Henry did, and we saw the first half against Arizona as well. And the points you bring up on Walker and on Charbonnet are valid, and it makes me nervous about the game on Sunday. What's the root cause of their inability to stop the physical run game of some of these teams?
Probably the same issue that it's been, is that they sometimes lack that gap integrity and getting downhill, and sometimes their defensive backs get caught up when they're trying to sort of clean things up. But it starts at the defensive line level. If they can stop the offensive linemen to getting free releases to the linebacker level, they're going to be in a better shape. But listen, the power run game, this is a defense that invites you to run the football. So they are, I don't want to say they're bad at defending the run on purpose, but they would rather you run the football than beat them deep over the top. And I think that's a philosophy that has gotten Sean McDermott the notoriety of being one of the league's best defensive coaches. And they're going to invite Seattle to run the football, and they've got to do a good job of keeping them in third and long situations so they can get off the field on third down.
Nate Geary, who after the Bills and Seahawks, if you want to hear people call up and perhaps call him a cynic, you can do that in the Buffalo Bills radio network, Nate. I don't know if you're just being honest. Does that make
That's why we all hang out together, is because we're all cynical about this team.
We're all just I like to remind people I'm miserable all the time, so just leave me alone.
Appreciate the time, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Of course, guys. Talk to you.
There's Nate Geary, WGR, the Buffalo Bills radio net. Noted cynic, Nate Geary.
What are we, just the old men up in the Muppets? And up in the balcony there?
Yes. Stadler and Waldorf.
Whoa, good pull.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm 12. I mean, I should know the Muppets. Appreciate Nate stopping by and sharing some of his thoughts here as we get ready for Seattle on Sunday. We should also mention tomorrow, as is per usual on a Tuesday afternoon, we'll be checking in with Matt Perino of Syracuse.com, the Syracuse Post-Standard, will be getting his thoughts on yesterday's win.
Yeah, saw Matt out there yesterday. Amerks head coach Mike Leone will be stopping by. Michael F. Florio as well. We'll get his thoughts because he's a Bills fan and a Met fan. Look, I'm going to get more sleep now. You know, I'm like, okay, I guess
no more barf, cry, and die. It's over.
It's over.
We'll get to a happy hour next. More on yesterday's win in Orchard Park, and we'll give Gene a few minutes to put a moratorium on the Mets season as well. A final word on the Mets season. That's all coming up here on The Fan.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with An Odyssey Sports Station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Tale of two halves for the Buffalo Bills, who now sit at 5-2. This after the 24-point win over the Tennessee Titans. Keon Coleman with his first 100-yard game.
I mean, it means a lot. They can count on us as receivers to, provide that spark. Whether it's the run game not working that day, we need to provide it, or it is, and we just need that big play to happen. I think anybody in our room can make that play happen.
Well, Week 8 will be in Seattle, and some news on the next opponent. The Seahawks will be without one of their top weapons, DK Metcalf, wide receiver, a sprained MCL. He is week to week. Week 7 concludes tonight with 2 games. It's the Buccaneers and Ravens. The Cardinals and Chargers is exclusively on ESPN+. Jaden Daniels week to week with a rib injury. Tua Tagovailoa returning to practice this week. Garrett Cole will start Game 1 of the World Series for the Yankees. That's on Friday. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
So the Bills with an impressive come-from-behind victory. They win it 34-10, scoring 34 unanswered points to improve to 5-2 on the season.
I still think they're adjusting to who they are, and I think you can see the growth. But I still think they're nowhere near where they're going to be in a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months even.
Mike Danger.
It's a victory Monday, and I think you did what everybody expected you to do. And good time now in the schedule for the Buffalo Bills to stack some wins and build off of what they did yesterday with the Titans.
Gene Battaglia.
They should win 3 of the next 4. Going to Seattle, all right. The Seahawks haven't been all that. You go back home against the Dolphins. That should be a win as well, which would leave you in Indianapolis. So you're in great shape, and you're still in control of the division.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Man, you just said something, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was wrong. In my head, I don't know if it's because I'm excited, I'm hyped about it. In my head, I told myself that the World Series started tomorrow night.
No.
I don't know why I thought that or where I saw that or what, as I'm scrolling through apps and stuff, I just forget sometimes what the schedule, how it lays out.
It's not like the NBA where, actually, that's not right either. The NBA will do that in the initial rounds, but then the finals, here are the set dates. For the World Series part of it, this is Fox, right? And Fox wants to make sure, and they don't give you the prime dates, meaning the World Series isn't on Sunday night. It's not on Thursday night. It's on Friday and Saturday, which is just fine. But to give you an indication here, the get-in price for Game 1 in Los Angeles, you're talking Super Bowl prices here.
Yeah.
$1,004. In New York City for Game 3, that's coming up Monday night next week. That'll be a lot of fun. $1,100. I mean, you're not getting that if it's Mets Guardians, okay? Or even if it's, Dodgers Guardians or whatever combo you want to say here. This is what people wanted. I'm not upset. I'm really not over what the Mets did and didn't do. I think they overachieved, and now you got to improve the roster just a little bit. The NLCS wasn't a good series. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it was every game was a blowout. Last night being the first lead change, but even when the Dodgers took the lead, it was a long road to go here for the Mets. Yankees Guardians was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. So excited that I actually thought that the series got underway. Like I said, I don't remember where in my weekend, it crossed my feed or I saw something and I thought to myself, "Ooh, I can't wait for Tuesday night." No, Friday night. Friday night we all get underway. And the World Series that everybody wanted gets underway.
No, what we have tomorrow night is, and this is the interesting, what do you pay more attention to? It's the day where you have the 16 games in the NHL, all staggered.
Yes.
Or, and that's ESPN doing this, Turner. Oh, my gosh, the NBA tips off tomorrow night. Knicks and Celtics, Lakers and T-Wolves.
I mean, I know what I'm watching.
Oh, you're not going to watch LeBron and his son? No?
If all things are equal, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Gino, I played hockey growing up, so I'll watch wall-to-wall NHL action for a night if that's what's being offered by the 4-letter. I'll take that. Yeah,
I'm watching Knicks Celtics.
Okay,
I'm not a hockey hater,
but this is why we work well together.
Yeah.
Gee, we pick each other up. You didn't watch any of Sunday Night Football. You were watching your Mets. I got to watch the Jets fall to 2-5.
I feel like I should have watched.
That was it. You would have enjoyed it. You would have had some fun. It would have made you laugh. You would have had a couple of laughs knowing that the Jets have fallen once again and now are 2-5. with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, a better record last year at this time than what they have right now without Aaron Rodgers last year. Fantastic.
Do the Bills clinch this division by Thanksgiving?
I'm not going to go that far because there are still things, even though they win by 24. It's funny. We feel like we've run out of problems and we want to complain about things, and these are not nothings.
I think it's just very simple. I think Bills fans are educated. They know what has happened in the past. They know where you want to get to. They know what winning football looks like. And you project. And you project in the first half, and that's a crummy Tennessee team. It really is. They should be picking top 10. They didn't have a quarterback yesterday. They may not have one in Will Levis either. Their defense, fine, they had a defensive line. Once the Bills figured out, hey, maybe we can throw on this team. Josh Allen had the most passing yards ever in the second half yesterday in game 100. So Bills fans projecting, saying, I don't have any problem with Bills fans saying, yeah, that wasn't good, because in the locker room yesterday, Danger, it wasn't like
they were saying it.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was loud music and everybody hooting and hollering. It was like, it's a October win over Tennessee. We got a long way to go.
Yeah, the first half was ugly. It was a struggle, both sides of the ball. 3 straight 3-and-outs on offense. You scored 7, 90 yards through the first half. And when you look at how the offense was out there and the game plan that Joe Brady constructed, it didn't make a ton of sense. You had a lot of run plays out of shotgun. You had downfield passing routes that took too long, and then you kind of adjusted. And I think, what we heard from Thad earlier today, Thad Brown from News 8 Sports, it makes a lot of sense. You got 2 coordinators that are green. I mean, yeah, Brady has been a coordinator. He's been in the league. He's been doing it for a second.
Babbage, no.
Babbage has not. And so you've got a couple of guys who, and I'm going to give credit to Sean McDermott on this. I think McDermott is probably the one saying, no, what are we doing, guys? Like, we have to make these adjustments. A good coach does that. Last night in that Sunday night game, you saw Mike Tomlin in Arthur Smith's ear telling him, do this, try this, like knowing he was coaching. Like, it wasn't just, you're more than just a cheerleader on the sideline clapping your hands. You're getting in there, you're getting dirty, and you're telling your guys, hey, this ain't working, do something different.
You certainly want it this way than the other way around, because we've seen over the years where the Bills start out hot, and it's the other team making the halftime adjustments. So the Bills seem to be pretty good. That was the Arizona game to me yesterday. Arizona, week 1, because the season goes so long and we kind of forget. Bills were actually down 14-0 in that game. James Conner's running all over the place. This looks pretty bad. And then all of a sudden, hey, let's pay a little more attention to the run and make sure we're not over pursuing the ball. It seems to be kind of an issue, and paying attention to this player in motion and this misdirection and everything. The Bills seem to bite on that a little bit. A couple things to update you on a Monday. First of all, Sean McDermott isn't giving you any clear indication, but there are 3 players for this coming week that we're all going to be keeping an eye on. Curtis Samuel, okay, fine. I think they'd be okay without Samuel. But the 2 linebackers, Terrell Bernard, you saw him struggling yesterday. He left twice in that game. Also Dorian Williams. So it's more the day-to-day. We'll see how it goes. McDermott isn't saying anything. Adam Schefter, the first to report, meanwhile, up in Seattle. DK Metcalf, that's an MCL sprain. He is out for this game. He is week to week. So, funny, though, that's not, even though the Seahawks, it's Geno Smith leading the league in passing yards, which who knew? That's not the concern I actually have. It's actually Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. And if you have potentially Balin Spector and then I don't know what on the outside, that's not good for Buffalo this game.
No. And what can the Bills do offensively against this Mike Macdonald defense, who's a good secondary and could present some problems here for the Bills' passing attack. I like what we saw yesterday in his debut from Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, after the drop, of course, the first target is a drop, and you're rolling your eyes wondering, oh, boy, what did we trade for here? 4 catches, 66 yards. He gets that touchdown on his first reception of the game. Love what Khalil Shakir did, which is standard Khalil Shakir fare. 7 targets, 7 catches. And, yeah, the first 100-yard game for rookie Keon Coleman, 125 yards and a lot of run after the catch. Great job by the wide receivers. I think that that they're going to pose some issues for Seattle's secondary, and I think Seattle's secondary will be more of a challenge for Bills wide receivers than what they had in a banged-up Tennessee defense yesterday.
Yeah, you're always welcome to join us in Happy Hour. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. One of our regulars stopping by, Steve and Victor. Hey, Steve.
Hey, bud.
Hey, fellas. So got some trouble at linebacker. Is AJ Klein gonna get a call?
Don't put that into the universe.
Throwing it out there. I don't know.
Don't put that out there, Steve. Come on.
All right, just had to call it for that one.
Oh,
thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Steve.
No, let's not put that out in the universe. Who are we talking about? If both, let's just say the worst case scenario.
Okay, the worst case scenario is you're seeing Nick Morrow. It's funny. He's listed as a starter. Really, he's not, right? Because he's never on the field. The Bills use the nickel. Taron Johnson is a starter. So you could have Nick Morrow or Eddie Olafashio.
Yeah.
He's out there. Maybe you move Spector to the outside and you have Joey Buffalo in there.
Oh, Joe Andreessen.
Yeah.
He's been largely inactive, right? Or are they
Correct.
using him as special teams?
Yeah, that's it. So I think we're right now Williams, Bernard, they're up in the air against a team that likes to run the ball. What do they say? Not great, Bob?
No, that could be a little problematic.
Not great, Bob.
That could be a little problematic not having your starting linebackers against Seattle and a team that has Kenneth Walker.
You weren't surprised, though. Entering that game in Atlanta yesterday, Seattle had dropped 3 in a row. I'm surprised they won by that margin. I mean, I guess the Falcons are the Falcons. That's
I just had an idea at linebacker. Maybe we can pull off a deal to get Terrell Dodson back from Seattle the week that we're playing Seattle. Can we get him to come back? He was our answer last year. No?
Steve, I know you said that tongue-in-cheek.
Don't put that out there.
No, because okay, let's go inside the Sean McDermott meeting right now. He's like, "Hey guys," and so Sean McDermott, he's got the whiteboard out. He's like, "Okay, who do we put on the inside? Who do we put on the outside?" I know. Well, I don't know if he's in shape, and they're writing AJ Klein's name down on the whiteboard, right? As an option.
No, please, God, no, Steve. I love you, but don't put that out in the universe, buddy. We don't need that. We don't want that. Well, we'll have that action for you and plenty to come this week here in the Sports Bar as we get you ready for Seattle on Sunday afternoon in the late window there. Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard will be joining us tomorrow afternoon at 3:25. His usual stop into the Sports Bar, not just to recap this weekend's win, but to look ahead to that matchup in Seattle come Sunday.
And if you're wondering, do they have a linebacker on the practice squad? The answer is no.
No, it was always Andreessen, right? Like
Yeah.
Andreessen was the one that you thought, he's on the practice squad, and they've called him up, and he's
been sitting there. Yeah,
they've needed him. Another week that Tyler Bass can breathe easy at least. I mean, we don't have that as a storyline this week. It wouldn't appear.
No, I do like how Bills fans applauded here. And when he came out, and I don't know if that came across on the television or not, but I thought if you were at the stadium yesterday, you noticed right away that, hey, Tyler Bass kind of walking out there, and everybody knows the story. Everybody knows what he's going through. Danger, he is the best option right now. I know, the Wheeler kickers, that's not ideal. You don't want a big question mark. Bass went from being automatic, I'm not thinking about this, to, oh boy, hold your breath here, to the point where, why did Sean McDermott elect to receive yesterday? He says it was because of the wind. Okay, anybody that tailgated yesterday, what was the wind like yesterday? How was it on Buffalo?
Yeah.
I don't know. Seemed like the best day ever weather-wise in Buffalo football history. I'm not kidding you, Danger. It was exquisite yesterday. So, I don't know. I'm just thinking, well, maybe he's doing that so whatever win there is, it's at his back in case they need it in the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it'll be a week where he can maybe breathe easy and not have to look over his shoulder, and hopefully, did everything they asked him to do yesterday with his extra points and his 2 field goals that were essentially extra points. We're not talking about Tyler Bass this week, which is a good thing for the Buffalo Bills.
No, but I think the thing that is positive is we knew Cooper was going to play, but did we really expected those results? You got a little taste of it. And in my opinion, I know maybe in the back of his mind, Sean McDermott wants the ground and pound and Ray Davis and 2 tight ends. No. I'm not. No more 2 tight ends. Okay, your primary offense should be this. It's Cooper, Shakir, and the kid. Okay, Keon Coleman with Dalton Kincaid, James Cook at running back. Really, the 3 wide receivers should be the base offense.
I think where I'll push back a little bit on that is you're right when it makes sense, when the matchup dictates that will work for your offense, because I think there are going to be opportunities for the Bills to be more physical and to go with the 12 personnel. And we saw it, last season. We've seen it at times this season where if it makes sense and the matchup dictates it, then go with your 3 wide receiver sets versus the 2 tight end set. But I'm okay with them making that adjustment week by week, in game by game, if they need to do it. Do what you believe gives you the advantage and where you can win those matchups. And back to Cooper, having Cooper on this roster allows you that flexibility now that you didn't really have before you traded for him, because I don't think there was anybody game planning for Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir. And now you do have to game plan for Amari Cooper, because Amari Cooper can put up some yards against you if you allow him to.
Another relief, too, yesterday, because whenever you get the ankle injury, all right, are we talking about a twisted ankle or is it the dreaded high sprain? Sean McDermott's not going to give you the degree and give you the nuts and bolts of the injury. But to see Shakir yesterday catch the ball, and that's what he does best. I'm going to scoot ahead and get an extra 10 yards off of this. I love Khalil Shakir. I think that he can actually kind of flourish now with Cooper. Cooper's going to be the guy that's going to take it off the top.
Dude, 7 targets, 7 catches. I mean, this is what this guy – he is so damn efficient. He's just – if it's going his direction, it's going in. It ain't coming out. He's going to make plays with yards after the catch. I mean, 5 catches over a span of 6 plays that set up a field goal, going for 50 yards. He was the offense for a stretch there in that drive, and for all the times that he gets targeted, it feels like the ball never hits the turf. He's special, and will be better with Cooper now in the line, because now you can't take Shakir away. You're going to have to focus your energies on taking somebody away, and if that person is Cooper, then Shakir is going to have big games, or Coleman is going to have big games like we saw yesterday. And for what it's worth, I thought Kincaid had a nice day too. Really good catches. 2 really, really good catches.
The one by the pylon where also, wait a second. That's not what Tennessee was challenging. Because you spotted the ball 1 yard away. You don't take away the challenge. Okay, whatever. But talking about they were challenging whether or not that was a catch or not. Not always a catch, but we're not going to charge them a challenge because okay. Officiating.
They just make it up as they go.
I think so.
3 catches, 52 yards for Dalton Kincaid, and 2 of those catches were pretty spectacular. So the Bills now ready for Seattle, and we'll keep you updated throughout the course of this week on injury news around the team. That linebacker position is going to be problematic as we'll monitor the status of Dorian Williams and Terrell Bernard, who both go into the week a little bit banged up here as we get ready for the Seahawks.
You do have the 2 games on Monday night, but how many of us actually subscribe to ESPN Plus tonight?
I'm raising my hand.
Okay, you have it.
Yeah.
I'm not. If I miss Chargers Cardinals tonight, not exactly upset.
I mean, look, I'm an addict, so I will flip between the 2 and kind of go where the wind takes me. I do think Baltimore and Tampa is a pretty nice matchup, and I'm curious to see how real Tampa's offense is, and if Baker Mayfield can exploit that Ravens pass defense, that pass defense that when they played the Bills was one of the worst, if not the worst, pass defense in the league. It kind of can't run the ball against the Ravens, but you can throw against the Ravens. And Ken Baker Mayfield, with his lack of size, be able to get the ball out to some of his guys. I'm intrigued by that matchup, and I kind of want to see what the Chargers are. I don't feel like I've seen enough of what the Chargers are with Jim Harbaugh.
That's okay. There you go. Like how we're talking about the Seahawks. Like, wait a second, I haven't watched that team beginning to end. The Chargers are one of those.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Herbert looks like, because he was dealing with a high ankle sprain. Like, is he the same mobile quarterback that we remember? Or is this something that's going to linger with him throughout the course of the season? Is J.K. Dobbins, is he really like the running back that's going to come back from all of these injuries and actually continue to be as productive as he's been? And I think Arizona's compelling too. I think there's a lot of what ifs. I want to see Marvin Harrison Jr. do more than what he did against the Bills in week 1. And I think you have an opportunity to see that tonight with these games. So I'm excited. And then, of course, week 8 gets underway Thursday night with the Vikings traveling to L.A. To take on the Rams.
Funny how Chicago is in Washington. The line right now is actually the Bears favored by 3 on the road. That swung already with Jaden Daniels not being available.
But we don't know for sure if he's out, but it's a week-to-week injury.
Week-to-week, yeah. So they're
chances
couching,
are
yeah.
he's out. Mariota didn't look out of place in that offense. I don't know if it's Kingsbury, just if his system is more suited to these guys, but it was Carolina, so I don't want to put too much stock in it.
I was ready to answer that for you.
Yeah.
The other story here being, wait a second, guess who's returning to practice coming up on Wednesday? Tua Tagovailoa, and he says he's healthy, and if he's symptom-free this week, well, Tagovailoa will be making his return to the NFL as they take on Arizona Sunday.
I feel like there's an opportunity missed here for Tua, but I again, it's his personal choice.
Should it be?
Well, that's a bigger conversation between the NFLPA and the NFL, right? Like, I'm just encouraged because I love the sport of football, but I hate what it does to its players. And you can't deny it. You can say what you want to say. There's just too much evidence and science, and you see the stories and you hear the stories. The CTE is a real thing, and hell, we had it a couple of weeks ago with Josh Allen. Like, okay, he wasn't concussed. Come on, really? It was the Houston game, right? Like,
danger that he was cleared. Didn't you hear he was cleared to go back in?
Oh, right. No, it didn't look like a concussion at all. I'm sure he was fine. But you hate that because you hate the image of thinking of your favorite player 20, 30 years from now, not remembering his name, or not, to hear Malik Neighbors mention that he didn't remember the hit that concussed him a couple of weeks ago. This is scary stuff. And with Tua, it was never a consideration. Retirement was never a consideration. And this, wearing a Guardian cap.
He won't wear the Guardian cap.
He's not wearing the Guardian cap.
Look, you got to help yourself. Like, what is it? Because it doesn't look cool?
That might be the thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's not this heavy weight that's going to alter your style of play. I'm sorry. Defenders are flying all over the place. And now I'll give Taylor Rapp some credit there in putting it on. I mean, look, he's going back there, and he's a physical guy. He's a man's man, and he's putting it on.
He's not playing with fear.
No.
There's no fear in his game from what we've seen out of him since returning from that concussion and wearing the Guardian cap since being concussed. But I think it is that. I think it's, it doesn't look cool. Like, even my daughter, who's a casual fan, watching Taylor Rapp, like, what is that? Oh, that's a Guardian cap. Why? What? I don't understand. I'm like, it's extra protection. But what is it? Just a piece of cloth over their helmet? I'm like, no, it's padding. But she's like, it looks weird. I'm like, yeah, that's the thing that they have to get past. That's the thing.
It would look less weird if everybody was doing it, though.
Yeah.
Would it not?
Yeah. Well, I think all of this also happens at a time where the NFL is feeding us a steady diet of their, helmet safety promos that run in game. We've got the best technology. These helmets are the player safety first. It's all crap. They don't care about player safety. They do not care about player safety, because if they did, you're right. It shouldn't be a choice. He should be wearing a Guardian cap to protect himself.
Well, okay, you're the owner. You've made this investment.
I don't think they can. I don't think there's anything that they can do.
No.
Right. I mean, like, it's probably written in the collective bargaining agreement that this is something that they can make is their own choice, but they won't be dictated to. It's like the NHL and the neck guards, right? Like players aren't going to wear those.
Well,
They should.
They should.
They're not going to wear them. Sometimes you have to protect them from themselves, and even if they don't want to hear it. So Tua will be back. And depending on the outcome against the Cardinals, we'll be probably seeing Tua starting for Miami again when they come to Orchard Park here in a few weeks.
My goodness, if this week doesn't get any better, you know how many teams are on bye this week in the NFL? The answer, none.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we'll talk some fantasy football with Michael F. Florio, who joins us tomorrow afternoon as well. Michael Leone, the head coach of the Rochester Americans, who dropped 2 to Toronto this weekend. He'll be stopping by as well tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, busy afternoon. And Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, who I believe will also be heading to Seattle.
Yeah. It's a hell of a road trip for our friends covering the Buffalo Bills.
I would think when I asked the question to Thad Brown earlier, it was like he loves Seattle. I get that. Like it's a cool town, but like as far as just the toll it would take you, like London's number 1 on the list, but would Seattle not be the second one?
I can't say because I've never been, but Seattle just feels like it might as well be its own country. It just feels isolated. It feels like it's on an island, that it's in the middle of nowhere and it's hard to get to and a challenge to get to. But I imagine...
You're talking about Nantucket or Seattle?
Oh, well.
Never mind.
Maybe Pete Carroll has... Maybe exploring Seattle is just as challenging as exploring Nantucket. And Pete, we checked on Pete Carroll's relationship status recently?
I have not. No.
Okay. Let's get to a round of shots next before we get in trouble.
Yeah, blame me on that one. This Georgia-Texas game, Kirby Smart, if you missed this, why was he so upset, seething? Yeah, you want to talk about officiating and let people asking questions. We'll set you up for the World Series. Former Packers running back, not a good scene for this player. And Scotty Scheffler making an appearance over the weekend, which kind of appreciate the way he went about this.
All right, we're going to get to any headlines that we may have missed so far this afternoon. A round of shots coming up here in the Sports Bar with last call before 6. You can have the final say when you join us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Wake up with Maggie and Perloff on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester. Weekday mornings via the Odyssey app. And make getting out of bed your favorite part of the day. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills with a 2.5-game lead in the AFC East. Buffalo at 5-2. Miami in second place at 2-4. As far as yesterday, the Bills, after being down 10-0, came back. Sean McDermott on the second half success.
In the second half, we turned on the complementary football, led by the fourth down stop by the defense. The offense was able to get into a rhythm in the second half, to me, primarily by winning the line of scrimmage, and that sets up everything else. And really, I thought the second half we did a better job on both sides of the ball up front, winning the line of scrimmage, and again, that sets up everything we're trying to do.
The next opponent, Seattle, will be without one of their top weapons. DK Metcalf has a sprained MCL. He is week to week. Week 7 concludes tonight. 2 games, Buccaneers and Ravens, Cardinals and Chargers. Jaden Daniels listed as week to week with a rib injury to a Tagovailoa, returning to practice this week. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
If you want pure, unfiltered, unadulterated sports, you've come to the right place. 95.7 FM, The Fan, Rochester.
Happy Hour continues in the Sports Bar. Thanks for checking out Danger Battaglia here on The Fan. It's time for a round of shots.
Yeah, have we ever seen an officiating crew bow to the home crowd the way the referees did in Texas on Saturday night? This was something. If you missed this, so Georgia's up 23-8. That's when Arian Smith of the Longhorns intercepts a pass, brings it back to the Georgia 9, and hey, we're on the verge of making this a one-score game. Wait. Pass interference. The refs mark off the 15 yards, still the Georgia possession, but the fans cause a delay. They're throwing trash on the field. It takes time to clean all this up, but while the delay is happening, repeatedly they're showing the replays up on the board of the bad call, and the officials get together and agree we should reverse this.
Oh, no.
Georgia head coach Kirby Smart was losing his mind, still hot about it after the game, talking about how this actually sets a really bad precedent. Georgia did win the game 30-15.
I mean, it didn't cost them anything, so I guess it'll probably be forgotten. But when was the last time that – I don't know that I've ever seen that or heard of that where an official basically says, nope, our bad. We're going to reverse that without the replay assistant telling them.
Well, and it's also the fact that you wouldn't have done that had not the fans' bad behavior. And you're encouraging now, wait, that's a bad thing? What happens the next time a call goes against Texas' way?
Yeah, I don't like that. He's right about the precedent that sets. I would just say, because so much is at stake now with college football, you need to adopt maybe a stricter regiment when it comes to replay and your rules, and you can't that's the kind of thing that can't happen in college football anymore, ever.
For the first time in 15 years, the New York Yankees are in the World Series. Juan Soto with the big blow, the 3-run homer in the 10th, giving the Yankees the winning margin. And it'll be Garrett Cole starting Game 1 Friday night against the L.A. Dodgers. Game 2 also in Los Angeles. That's coming up Saturday.
So this is what Major League Baseball wanted. I think this is what Major League Baseball fans wanted too, right? I mean, the Subway
sports fans.
Yeah, I think Subway Series would have been fine, but outside of New York, it probably doesn't have as much popularity as what you have in this matchup of just superstars. I think it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
So the Dodgers with the home field advantage, it goes 2-3-2 in the World Series. Remember Eddie Lacy? Lacy rushed for over 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns in his rookie season with the Packers in 2013. He was never quite the same after that. Checking in on Lacy now. It was back on September 30th. He was pulled over. Police suspecting him of driving under the influence. This was taking place in Arizona, where he blew into a breathalyzer. Oh, my. According to TMZ, a .325 in Arizona. That's not just DWI. Lacy has been charged with extreme DUI.
I love extreme DUI. Extreme DUI.
This is not your father's DUI.
This is extreme DUI. Get it now. Next to Mountain Dew in your favorite. Extreme DUI.
Anything gets above a .2 gets the extreme tag in Arizona. Who was it? It was the GM, right?
Keim, yeah.
Keim.
Stevie Keim, yeah.
What Lacy blew was more than 4 times the league limit.
Jeez.
What did he tell police? He told police he had just one shot of tequila.
What was that brand of tequila? Gasoline?
Was it the Worm? What?
No.
No.
Sorry, Eddie, we're not buying it.
No.
And I would imagine in his post-playing days that Eddie Lacy is probably a big dude. He was a big dude as a player. But, when players retire, they get a little soft around the middle, and I'm sure Lacy is not immune to that. And maybe he's still in shape, but not the kind of shape he was in as a football player. I would imagine for him to get to that level, I mean, how much is he drinking to get to a .325? What is he drinking? Literally, gasoline. What are you drinking to get to a 325?
Well, apparently, multiple people were calling him in, driving on the road.
Well, I'm glad nobody was hurt. It's terrible, and I hate these stories. I worry about former players, and we had the Jay Cutler story last week, which hit a little close to home because that's somebody I just remember enjoyed watching playing, and when he was done playing, I enjoyed his personality as well. I thought he's just a fun character, and now you hear these stories like these guys are not making great choices, and I hope that they're not making great choices not because of their time playing, just because they're just knuckleheads. This is just a bad choice.
Credit to us here in the Sports Bar, Danger, in the show. We went 162 minutes today, up until now, without bringing up the other team in Western New York. The Sabres back on home ice tomorrow night, coming off their first road win of the season. J.J. Peterka scoring in the win at Chicago. Peterka now with 4 goals in the last 3 games. UPL, 35 saves for Buffalo. Dallas is the opponent tomorrow, and I've got to double-check the time on this puck drop because tomorrow is the one day where everybody plays in the NHL. It's the wall-to-wall.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it starts with Washington, Philadelphia at 6, but the Sabres actually have the normal puck drop, so that is correct. 7 o'clock tomorrow night against Dallas.
I put myself through the punishment of watching the Blackhawks and the Sabres from Saturday night. I recorded it and went back and watched it yesterday morning, and I'm like, what does it say about the Blackhawks that the Sabres went into the madhouse on Madison and beat them?
No, they're not very good. Just one game in the NHL tonight. Tampa Bay taking on Toronto. Finally, we love ESPN Game Day, right? They still have fun with it. The guest picker this week was, it's Scotty Scheffler. What a magnificent season. 7 wins with a major. He's the world's #1 golfer, so why not go do College Game Day? Oh, did we mention?
Alma mater, right?
Yeah. It was in Louisville.
Oh.
Site of the 2024 PGA Championship. Remember, something happened there. He got arrested.
Yeah.
Yes, he did pick the visiting Miami Hurricanes. Said tongue-in-cheek that it had nothing to do with his arrest.
Scotty Scheffler annoys me just like Clayton Kershaw and Matt Stafford annoy me because I don't know if you knew this or not, Gino, but those guys all went to the same high school. And every time you see Scotty Scheffler or Matt Stafford or Clayton Kershaw, it's like these guys are almost too good. They're all just too good. Like, show me a flaw. Show me something where, and for that one moment during the tournament where Scheffler is like, all right, good, he is human. He will slip up. He did play the entitlement card probably when he didn't need to. All those guys. They might as well all be the same athlete.
He's, because of the fractured nature of the sport right now, it's unfortunate. He's going to have like an asterisk next to him, right? Like when we look back and like he's dominating, like, yeah, he dominated, but.
Well, I mean, he's also dominated in fields where the world's best are all there.
That's true.
So I don't want to take too much away from him, but I do just think that when he is doing what he's doing, it's kind of boring. And he's not doing it with the kind of flair that we saw out of Tiger.
Boring? He got arrested. Did you
that was
remember?
fun. Yeah, that made it fun. But he didn't get arrested for extreme DUI. He just tore his pants a little bit. Got upset at a rent-a-cop who was trying to get him to pull over.
I was reading that story about Eddie Lacy. I'm like, this can't be good, right? Like, why is there a story about Eddie Lacy? Oh.
The last time we talked about Eddie Lacy, he was doing a garage sale.
You remember that,
yeah.
Right? Like literally, like his old deodorant was on sale.
He was selling all his stuff from Green Bay. I hate to hear that. I don't like that story at all. But good for Scheffler. And, yeah, it turned out his pick was right there as Louisville fell to Miami. I think Miami's still pretty real there in the ACC. We're going to take a quick break, come back with last call at 866-4326. 585-866-4FAN. You can have the final word in the Sports Bar.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Victory Monday.
Hey, come on. Fire it up, buddy.
Oh, right. Hang on.
I mean, I like our bumper music and everything else like that, but, what is the tradition when the Buffalo Bills win on a Sunday? And
Right. Everybody celebrates their own way here in this sports bar. We celebrate by playing Italian favorites, Italian music favorites like Bruno Martino. Of course, we play Bruno Martino on a Victory Monday because he's Italian.
Non sei mai stata così bella.
That's right.
Adorabile.
We're just handling our business with class, with dignity. Probably a cigar and a glass of brown liquid. Bruno Martino on a Victory Monday in the sports bar.
People may say Sinatra. No, Bruno Martino. It must be like one of the coolest men ever to live.
I mean, I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Bruno Martino. I'll leave that to Joe Capagreco.
All right, fair enough. All the stuff, Danger, in August. Oh my gosh, where's Brandon Ayuk going? He's going to the Steelers. He's going to the Browns. They're going to trade him for Murray Cooper. Remember,
he's going to IR is where he's going.
That's it. Torn ACL and MCL.
Oh, God, I hate that. I hate that, man. And there's a part of me that's breathing a sigh of relief if Jaden Daniels isn't playing the Bears on Sunday. But there's another part of me that's like, no, I wanted to see that. I wanted to see Caleb Williams against Jaden Daniels. And if he's week to week with a rib injury,
much better than something with your knee, right?
For sure.
Just let him get healthy.
And the same goes with the Bills and DK Metcalf. Like, DK Metcalf can't play against the Bills? Oh, man, that stinks.
No, you don't root for injury.
No, I want to see that. I want to see the best. I want them to be healthy. That's too bad. Nate Gary was fantastic, as always. He stopped by the sports bar in the 4 o'clock hour. We had Thad Brown, News 8 sports director, join us in the 3 o'clock hour. If you missed either of those conversations, you can get them wherever you find your podcasts. That includes the free-to-download Odyssey app. That's AUDACY, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just search out the Sports Bar, and you'll find all of our guest appearances and shows listed for you there. We're also on YouTube, and we appreciate anybody who stops by the live video stream on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. We stream on Twitch every afternoon for you as well, if that's your brand of vodka. And we'll be back again tomorrow afternoon. We've got another brand new episode. And Tuesdays are jam-packed. Tuesdays are electric in the sports bar with Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard, joining us at 3:25. Ameryk's head coach, Michael Leone, stopping by the sports bar at 4:25. And then some Week 8 fantasy football talk with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network. He'll stop by right around 4:45 tomorrow afternoon. Enjoy your night. Enjoy the doubleheader on Monday Night Football. JR Sport Brief is next, and we will talk to you again tomorrow afternoon starting at 3 o'clock. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.